580 Sports Talk coming to you on a Victory Monday. That is right. The Kansas City Swifties getting a win over the New York Jets last night.
Kansas Swiftie Chiefs?
Maybe. Brennan's already upset right now. He's already upset.
I am not. I am not upset. I am just not interested in partaking in that specific conversation.
That was too much even for me. We got a lot to get to, though.
Jake's excited about it. Brendan's not. And a lot of times, Brendan, it's you and me tag teaming Jake. So I kind of want to be on the other team for a change. And that's why I'm stirring the pot with Jake over here.
All I know is that Ryan Reynolds and Wolverine were in the booth and got no love whatsoever.
Yeah,
none.
It's wild to be that famous and also not even close to as famous as the most famous person in the vicinity.
Wolverine, one of the best characters ever, is an afterthought, is not even on Brittany Mahomes' level. She got shown more. Anywho, we got a lot to get to.
Last night was a tough night for people who are not very into pop culture.
Correct.
Like me.
Because that was a lot.
Like, I know Taylor Swift. I knew Ryan Reynolds. I recognize him and know who that is. And after like 2 hours said, hey, that's Hugh Jackman. Is he there too? And so that was tough. And then I know who Blake Lively is, kind of. I don't think I've ever actually seen like a movie she's in, but I kind of know who she is.
You ever seen The Town?
No.
Really?
Well, no, I take that back. I've seen The Town precisely one time.
TNT shows it like once a week.
I'm not going to lie to you. I know who Blake Lively is because fan of Blake Lively.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. But and I told Abby as we were watching all of these celebrities on camera, I was like, if you gave me a picture of 5 blonde women and said which one is Blake Lively, I could probably pick. Like, it's more likely than not, I'd guess right. But it took me a while to realize that she was also famous. And then Sophie Turner was also there.
Yeah.
You could have given me 9 million pictures, and like you could have given me a picture of her.
You're not a Game of Thrones.
She's on the market. I hear maybe she was.
Because she stayed at Taylor Swift's house with her kids because she's going through a nasty divorce. I did know that.
Taylor Swift's ex.
I didn't know.
Joe Jonas.
I didn't know
Come
that.
Come on, Brendan, get in.
I do know his brother has diabetes, which will play into my good and the good, the bad, and the ugly later.
Well, we've got a lot to get to. We do. We're going to talk Chiefs. And
they also had the Succession guy. Was it Kendall Roy?
Yeah.
Yes. Who it was?
Yeah.
Jeremy Strong is the actor's name.
Yeah. Yes. The NFL tweeted out a picture of him with a quote from the show. And I was like, I had to ask Abby. I was like, Abby, who is this? I literally do not know who this man is. I've never seen him before in my life.
I forget who pointed out on social media, but very Kendall Roy move to try and upstage Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Yes. I was like,
Succession was a really good show. Was I the only one of us who watched that?
I don't get HBO.
It was a really good show.
It
was a soap opera for
so
dudes.
Many things.
It was a really good
happening.
show.
I just don't watch
so
TV. Like if I have the TV on, I'm watching a sporting event.
Yeah.
Or my wife has The Real Housewives of
Salt Lake City,
like Cheyenne on or whatever, and I'm watching it.
I'm watching a lot of Disney, like big into Luca right now. The son loves the movie Luca.
Yeah, the fish.
Well, man, fish.
I just know there's a fish.
Yeah, man.
That's all I got for you.
Yeah. We got lots to get to. Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on the text line 785-272-9429. Hit us up on YouTube. Very simple, very easy. Go to youtube.com, type in 580 Sports Talk, and hit the subscribe button. Very simple. And let us know your thoughts. We will get to a lot of things happening in the NFL. The Royals did not have the worst season in Royals history. They had one of the worst seasons in Royals history.
There we go.
And I almost thought they weren't even going to have that, but then, they found a way. Zach Greinke pitched a gem. Way to go, Zach. He didn't even want to do the curtain call. He's coming back. He's pitching next year. That's my hunch.
I think you might be right.
I think he's coming back.
He was dealing, man.
I think he's coming back.
See,
and we need more Greinke.
I'm going to dispute that. And here's why.
Ooh, this will be good. Someone's going to end up on second thought.
Zach Greinke hates attention.
Hates it.
Hates sentimentality.
He didn't even want to do the curtain call. And his curtain call was the sorriest curtain call ever. He walked out a foot, stayed for how many seconds? 5.
What's the old line about Ted Williams? They wanted him to tip his cap when he hit that last home run, and I forget the writer's name who wrote the famous article about it. But he said, "Gods don't answer letters."
He did a curtain call. He let all of the guys touch him on the mound before he walked off. He waved to everyone. He kept the ball. Like, I was assuming when Quatrero gave him the ball, I was thinking Zach is about to throw this onto the interstate. Like, there's no way this means anything. And he kept it. He tucked it in his pocket.
I think he asked for the ball after his previous start, too, because
he didn't know if he was going to pitch.
He didn't know if he was going to, and it looked like he was going to win that game, and then the bullpen took a dump in Detroit.
I'm glad he got a win.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm glad he went out
of the year. So we'll talk some more Royals. We'll get to the some Big 12 news, KU and Texas. A lot to get to when it comes to the weekend that was. But the Kansas City Chiefs are now, after losing the season opening game of the entire NFL, are the number 1 seed in the AFC. They have already turned it around and are the number 1 seed in the AFC. How incredible is that? So therefore, for you Kansas City Chiefs, you control your own destiny now again. You control your own destiny if you are the Chiefs, in which was a wild game. And I think what Patrick Mahomes said at the end of the game and in the post game, says, you got to win games ugly sometimes in order to win Super Bowls, right?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the sheer flex of saying Super Bowls, plural, that's a quiet flex that maybe I was the only one who caught. I'm like, he said Super Bowls as in plural. Yeah, it's hard to, you got to win some ugly games to win Super Bowls. Anywho, this is correct. The game looked like it was going to be smooth sailing, up 17-0, so much so that Brendan Dworzynski sends a text to me and Dan going, hey, if this game, when this game gets out of hand, let's just do our recap on our YouTube stream, like middle of the fourth quarter, and, be done with it. And we're all like, sounds good. You like when the Bears beat, or when the Chiefs beat the Bears, it's like you don't got to really do a whole lot. The game was a butt whooping. And then, of course, once you speak that, Brendan jinxed it like he does everything, including Lucas Giolito.
It really is an incredible power.
The Jets came back. It was like the Chiefs had forgot how to play football in the second and third quarter and came back and were put together a very unusual drive in Andy Reid history to run out the clock. It was a 7-minute drive to end the game. Like, that never happened.
They took over at midfield and ran out the final 7 minutes and 24 seconds.
Never. Like, that was a wild game. But you ready for this? Like, I don't think there was a whole lot of bad in the game.
I don't either. And I think part of it is I think that when Aaron Rodgers went down, we went back to our previous conception of the Jets that, like, with Zach Wilson at quarterback, they're too deeply flawed to be real good. When the reality of the Jets is they were correct in assuming that they were a quarterback away from being a contender in the AFC. All the pieces on that roster are there other than their quarterback right now.
And they improved in a lot of spots, too.
And I think you saw that from the Jets last night. You saw that they've got a good stable of pass rushers, no superstar pass rusher, but they've got a good stable of guys who can get heat to the quarterback. Bryce Huff looked like Micah Parsons last night. They've got 2 outstanding linebackers, maybe the best linebacker core in football, in CJ Mosley and Quincy Williams. They have 2 outstanding cornerbacks in DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. Like, that's a good team. That's a good defense. There's a reason all of us were kind of thinking the Chiefs will score in the lower to mid 20s. I said 23 points. That's exactly what they ended up with. It would have been 30 if Mahomes goes in there with a minute and change to go. But, like, that's a good defense. It's supposed to be hard to move the ball on good defenses on the road in a scenario like that in the NFL. We get spoiled by the Chiefs, and sometimes within a game they spoil you because they can make it look so easy. And that the first quarter looked so easy, it made the rest of the night frustrating. It felt like, okay, where's that? And it made us feel that way instead of feeling like, hey, maybe the Jets defense got a little momentum when they got the safety and started to play a little better. Maybe that was a turning point in the game, and the Jets defense played at a high level because they're capable of playing at a high level.
I think the Chiefs in this game overall, there's nothing to worry about, but are there some things that maybe 4 or 5 games down the road you say, yes, maybe this is now more of an issue? But, a lot of people are kind of freaking out, with, I see people on social media, which is not the world, but there are a lot of the people who are on there are big news people and NFL, minds. Ooh, maybe the Chiefs secondary has regressed. I'm like, the Chiefs, they gave up 18 points in a game. If the Chiefs defense gives up 18 points in a game the rest of this year, congratulations, the Chiefs are going to go 16-1. 18 points in a game. The field goal that they missed was a 50-yarder. That ain't a gimme. So that's not like, oh, well, they got lucky. No, 50-yard field goal is not lucky in this situation.
And
okay?
One of those touchdown drives was, 40 yards?
So, like, the Chiefs defense, oh, wow, Zach Wilson completed 29 passes. Yeah, every one of them outside of 3 were more than 5 yards down the field. They did a good job of tackling, taking care of business. Like, that's the thing to me. Like, the defense, people are, oh my goodness. No, the offense was up. Like, if you want to talk about like little things, the wide receivers, the main guys who played the majority of the snaps did not get open. MVS, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, they weren't factors at all in this game. Like, maybe that is an issue going forward. If you want to talk about Jayhawks Taylor and Donovan Smith, when Jayhawks Taylor is not being penalized, he's very, very good, but you don't want to get penalized. Same thing for Donovan Smith, that deal.
I don't think Donovan Smith, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe he was penalized last night. I think Trey Smith picked up a couple of balls.
Maybe that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, Trey did.
Which is rare for him. He's not typically a guy that gets flagged.
Yeah. And if you want to talk about the O-line, they did not handle stunts well, but I'm sure that they'll pick that up and they'll figure it out. So there are some underlying things. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is completely washed. Like, that is a given. But
can't been a has been if you were or never were, though.
If you
that was mean.
There was that game against the Bills, man. He looked like
and the Texans.
Yeah, his two games as a rookie. The Texans, where the Texans could not tackle in the rain. Yeah. Oh, no, the Bills game was in the rain. Excuse me.
Exactly.
But other than that, and maybe it was the injury against the Saints that ruined it. But
he shouldn't see the field unless Pacheco or McKinnon or LaMichael Pirine or Derek Gore, or Jamal Charles wants to come out in a retirement. Priest Holmes still probably got some juice left.
Dan, you were correct, by
Kimball
the way.
Anders, I mean, I can go on and on. Right
Trey
now.
Smith was called for 2 penalties, 2 holds.
Yeah.
Donovan Smith was not penalized.
Yeah, Trey Smith, he picked up that holding on the long Mahomes run on that last drive.
That was kind of iffy.
That was before the NFL decided, we were supposed to rig this game for the Chiefs because it's Taylor Swift's boyfriend's team, and then didn't call a hold on Donovan Smith that had the whole internet going nuts, even though, guys, it's not a hold.
No.
That's not a hold. Hands inside. You're not getting called for a hold.
So like that's why there were a lot of good. There were some bad overall, that the whole running and the score looks different, right? When we're talking about, the final score ended up being a Chiefs double-digit victory over the Jets. It wasn't. The Chiefs, to me, found a better running situation. That's the number one takeaway for me in this game is the Chiefs ran a little bit more power football. Holy cow, 3rd and 1. Instead of running east and west, run lead, run duo, one zone. Use your offensive line and your running back who does not care if his body holds up after 4 seasons in the NFL. In Isaiah Pacheco, he was terrific in this game. Let him go, especially when they were playing the pass. They gave you the run. Take the run.
For all the consternation about the short yardage situations for this Chiefs team. I thought we got great examples of the Chiefs overthinking themselves and the pros and cons that come with that. The pros are they look cool. The cons are they don't work nearly enough or nearly well enough. First drive of the game, 3rd down and 1. Chiefs are at the 48-yard line of the Jets, I believe it was. Very simple, easy scheme. Would have been a 1st down. Pacheco breaks a couple tackles, takes it for a touchdown. They bring motion. I think it was Rashee Rice, who is coming from left to right across the formation, crosses behind Mahomes. That brings the defense with him flowing to the right. They hand it off, stretch left. Isaiah Pacheco, wide open hole, gets the 1st down, breaks the tackle, takes it to the end zone.
Trey Smith sends the Jet safety Whitehead to the shadow realm with his lead block on that play.
Yeah, it was an awesome play and so simple. Every team in the NFL should run something like that. It is so simple. And I put on Twitter at the time, like, hey, maybe they figured out the play calling in these situations. This was a great setup. Love that. Let's go to the end of the game. I believe it was the 4th quarter. The Chiefs are lined up like they're about to punt. They have Mahomes deep, 15 yards, 3 tight ends.
When my wife goes, what are they doing? Andy Reid, you've gone too far.
Direct snap to Kelsey, sweep handoff to McKinnon, and thank God he did get a yard. Because if that didn't work, I was going to put my head through my TV. Like, just call a normal play. We saw it work. Like, if you can't, you don't need to trick another team every single time you're trying to get 1 yard. If you have this roster and you cannot get 1 yard without playing Harry Houdini with the playbook, you're not winning anything. Like that.
But that's wild because
they do keep winning.
They won a Super Bowl.
They can't keep getting away with this.
I do want to point this out, and a texter on the 785 points this out as well. We do have a solution, it appears, to the quarterback sneak problem. We now have found a quarterback sneak that the Chiefs can run. All it takes is Mahomes fumbling the snap from under.
We're going to call fumble the snap on one-on-one, right?
Mahomes just has to put it on the ground, bounce it once like it's the Aussie Rules Grand Final, and then just slip underneath on the ground for the yard.
Hey, fumble the snap on first color. Ready, go. There we go. Incredible. It was the game that we won't remember. In 5 weeks, this game will be completely flushed.
I would like to point something out too, and it's not what fans like to do, and it is not what the sports media landscape does well. But you
discourse.
Well, yes, in general, yes, but you can't take, even though each game is a bigger percentage of the season than, say, an individual baseball game or an individual basketball game, college, pro, whatever. You have to look at trends. You can't just look at one game usually. Now, playoff games are different because that ends your season. But you generally can't look at individual games as markers of, wow, because they sucked in this game or they struggled with something in this game, that means they are taking a step back, or that means they're not as good as we thought. You generally can't do that. And a good example of why, and I know this isn't super accessible to everybody, I'm looking at the nerd numbers for last night, the average depth of target and completion percentage over expectation and expected points added. Zach Wilson last night became the first quarterback in the Patrick Mahomes era, college or pro, to have more completions, more passing yards, more touchdown passes, and fewer interceptions all in the same game.
Yeah.
Than Mahomes.
Saying you have to be better than him in all those categories.
We're talking freshman year at Tech through last night. He's the only one to ever do it. It was the best game of Zach Wilson's career. Patrick Mahomes, mediocre at best. I mean, it was not an especially good game for Patrick Mahomes.
The picks he threw were really bad. His guys had trouble getting open. It was probably a C- game for Mahomes.
Yeah, the floater wasn't there.
Who had a higher EPA per play, Mahomes or Wilson?
Mahomes, substantially.
Who had a higher total expected points added, Mahomes or Wilson?
Substantially, Mahomes.
Zach Wilson was still in the negatives. Negative 0.9. Patrick Mahomes
dumps, man.
for having a very bad game by his standards, 7.8, which is like solidly decent to good. That's not great, but that's decent to good. Like, and his completion percentage over expected. And again, I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you. It was slightly below the expected number, 4.4 percentage points. So that's over the course of a game, one throw? The stupid little lob pass he threw that got picked off. You complete that, he's right on the number with that too. And we're probably talking about this game in an entirely different light.
If you can draw it up in a nutshell. If he doesn't throw those just like the Monstars sucked his brain, then the Chiefs win by 17.
Yeah, if he doesn't throw that first pick, it ends up a blowout. There's no question about that. And the game did really turn in that sequence where you have the safety, which should not have been a safety. The foul occurred outside the end zone. It's very strange that was. I mean, I understand why it's not reviewable, because if you make stuff like that reviewable, then you're a slippery slope and every play is reviewable. But that appeared to be a bad break for the Chiefs to give up the safety there. Then the Jets go down, they get a field goal. They hit on the long ball to Lazard, and they get a field goal out of it. And then Mahomes throws a pick on the very first play, I think, of the next drive. So the game turned. And you said it on the recap last night, Jake. Momentum's a real thing, especially prime time on the road.
And you got Fireman Ed really getting people going.
And look, we think of teams as their quarterbacks, right? So we think the Jets with Zach Wilson are a clown show. Like, nah, man, that's a good team with a quarterback problem. And the good parts of that team played really well last night, which you would expect. I don't think that the takeaway from that game should be, oh boy, what's wrong with the Chiefs? I mean, there's certainly some things, like we said, to be frustrated by, things that I think everybody acknowledged that have to get better. But that was not like this ugly, hideous, cover your eyes. Like last year when they beat the Titans on Sunday night, like that was one of those games. That was one of those where you go, what the hell is going on? Last night, not so much. Like the defense gave up 18 points, and 7 of those because Zach Wilson was Will Ferrell's character in Old School at the debate for a drive.
I got a question for you before we wrap this up, because I just thought of something. And I can't wait for either or, because it'll be that's on Thursday. All right, Dan. Who does Brendan hate more? Fireman Ed or Taylor Swift right now?
Fireman Ed got less camera time than Taylor Swift, which I'm sure frosts him.
Well,
he's got to be so upset about that.
Also, is Brendan hates Fireman Ed. I'm gonna go with
there is nobody worse, nobody on planet Earth worse than the NFL. Like, I'm such a super fan that I have my own gimmick. Let's call him the gimmick fan. There's no person on the planet worse than gimmick fan.
I thought you hated Fireman Ed.
I don't think I've ever shared an opinion of Fireman Ed at all.
I thought you hated Fireman Ed.
I mean, I'm not like, let's go on. I'm sitting next to Fireman Ed. Yeah.
Like, it's
I don't
thing,
like Ronnie Woo Woo.
It's one
He's the
thing
Cubs version of that.
To be a fan, it's another thing to be a super fan. I'm not even opposed to the people that wear like face paint or whatever it is. But when you start coming up with your own gimmick, you're the barrel man, or you're, I don't know, a Chiefsaholic, or you're
Red Extreme,
Bolt Man.
No, man.
The X Factor.
X Factor, yeah.
Like
Red Extreme.
Those people are like the worst of humanity.
Bolt Man was great because he goes to the Hall of Fame and pays his solemn respects to the Junior Seau bust. Also, the worst of them all, this is not the NFL, but the single worst super fan in all of sports, and I'm talking like soccer hooligans who go to prison worse than them, is Buckeye Guy. You know who Buckeye Guy is?
Who wears the white Buckeye outfit.
Who showed up to Woody Hayes' funeral when they were asked, please do not come to Woody, or was it Woody Hayes? No,
No, I think it was.
Yeah.
No, maybe it wasn't Woody Hayes.
Who was Urban Meyer's mentor?
Earl Bruce.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Explicitly told.
Funeral. Yeah.
It is not open to the public. This is for Ohio State alumni and family members only. And Buckeye Guy showed up to the funeral and took pictures with the casket.
Signed the guest book.
Yeah.
Is he an alum?
Probably.
I'm guessing not. Definitely went to Cuyahoga Community College.
Well, as someone who went to a major university and knows t-shirt fans. Oh, he's a t-shirt fan. Absolutely a t-shirt fan.
We got lots more to
He's
get
a big
to.
box Buckeye. There's no doubt.
We will get to, we'll go around the NFL, recap the weekend, talk a little Big 12. Matt Verderame will join us here from Andy Reid. We got lots more to get to here on 580 Sports. Alrighty, around the NFL this Sunday, what team, game, moment was atop your list?
I think for me, it's got to be that Bills performance against the Dolphins. And
is it more so about the Bills?
Yes.
Or more so about the Dolphins who still can't play defense?
No, I think it's more about the Bills.
Okay.
The Dolphins are really banged up already, which is not good. And
yeah, once they lost Terron Armstead and went behind and they had to play Tua from the pocket without his protector at left tackle, I'm not really surprised that offense had problems. Defensively, they were missing their best pass rusher in Jalen Phillips, and that was apparent because there was no pressure on Josh Allen all day. But boy, we were hard on Josh Allen after week one. He's been brilliant in the last 3 weeks.
The other thing for the Dolphins, too, they don't have a lot of depth defensively. Like, I think they're good players are good. Like, Jalen Phillips is a really nice player.
They're going to get Jalen Ramsey back.
They'll get Ramsey back.
They need him because, boy, Cater Kohu.
He sucks. He garbage player.
He's going to be seeing Stephon Diggs in his nightmares.
Yeah, Kedar Poo-Poo. Yeah, he stinks. Yeah. He's no good. He's just getting cooked all day. So I think the Dolphins are still good. Teams that have given you that, those kind of performances through 3 weeks, I think they get the grace to say, hey, look, you played another good team on the road, a team that was PO'd. You can deal with that. I think that says a lot more about the Bills. Now, it sucks for the Bills to lose Trey White. That sucks. And I feel so badly for him.
Is it official that it's a torn Achilles?
I mean,
I didn't see.
When they tell you that that's the fear,
he knew.
Yeah, he knew.
Like, if you watched his reaction, he very obviously
the Achilles, instantly.
Yeah, that's one where there's no mistaking it.
Yeah.
So everybody seems to know that.
That really sucks. But they're going to get Von Miller back in the near future. He can practice as of today, in fact. I believe the plan was they were going to take him off the PUP today.
That's right.
Yeah, it's 4. You have to be on the PUP for 4 weeks. For 4 weeks.
So they're going to get him back. Their pass rush already looks really good. They got rid of Boogie Basham and got better, which is kind of weird, but like Ed Oliver's playing really well. Greg Rousseau continues to get better. He's a really nice player. Matt Milano looked great yesterday. So their defense is playing well, and Josh Allen's been going crazy. I mean, he really looks great. Diggs at his best. We know how good he is. And James Cook probably isn't great, but the fact that they have a running back who you can at least say, like, can we give you 10 to 12 carries and you won't embarrass us with the ball? Like, just Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, who actually has played well the last couple weeks in Indy, but they never really got any true footing in Buffalo. The fact that James Cook at the very least can make plays gives them another element that they just haven't had in the last couple of years. So I was super impressed by them.
I've wanted to give it a time. I wanted to give it a full 4 weeks. The Eagles, having to hold off Washington. Washington's not bad, okay? That's why I don't think that's a huge deal. But the Bengals are in trouble. The Bengals are in trouble.
They are.
And I wanted to
burnt toast.
I wanted to give Joe Burrow enough because this is a team that has gone to the Super Bowl and the AFC title game in back-to-back years. I wanted to give them enough, and maybe 4 weeks still isn't enough, but until Burrow's calf gets better, they cannot. He has no zip on his passes. He can't throw it down the field. He can. It's just an arcer.
It's a puffball.
And it's got no zip on it. That team is completely different right now. And you are starting out the gate 1-3, and they still haven't even played a difficult schedule at this point. That's the thing about this team. Like, you look at it, here's the Cincinnati Bengals schedule coming up that they're going to play. And Joe Burrow is still not even remotely, I bet he's not even 50%. They got the Seahawks, the 49ers, and the Bills all coming up. They play the Cardinals. I forgot the Cardinals. They play the Cardinals on the road. And boy, if they lose to the Cardinals, you might as well shut Joe Burrow down, honestly. If they lose to the Cardinals and you start 1-4 and your next 3 games are the Seahawks, the Niners, and the Bills, you're what, at best right now, let's say you beat the Cardinals, you're 2-3, go 1-3 against those 3 teams. So, or 1-2. I mean, you're looking at, you're going to be 3-6 on the year. That ain't happening. Your season is over at that point in time.
And the calf's not going to get better. Like, that's not one of those injuries
No.
that's just going to like magically heal itself.
It's not like
time.
a rolled ankle where just time will slowly help get it. Like, the more he plays, the longer it's going to take for him to get better.
And he can't like maneuver in the pocket. And it's not like Burrow's escapability or his running ability is what makes him special, but he does have, at his best, the ability to move around in the pocket, create time for himself, create throwing windows for himself. And he does not have that right now. And that is a frustrated football team. The defense, you could see it from them that they were frustrated. They made Derrick Henry is moving around out there like Red Fox on most snaps. And he looked like prime Derrick Henry against that Bengals defense.
Man.
You got Jamar Chase sniping in his post-game comments. Great audio clip of him talking about being always bleeping open. He didn't sound very satisfied. T. Higgins is banged up now. Sounds like the rib injury isn't long-term, but he's still out there with a rib injury. Yeah, it's all bad. And by the way,
and their O-line, not good right now.
No,
Yes.
I think it's gotten worse.
Speaking of, if you had week 4 in the When Will Bengals Fans Turn on Orlando Brown Jr. pool, congratulations. You're cashing in.
Yeah. What game for you stood out, or a situation, moment?
You know, it was that game, certainly, that the Bengals, there's a lot to be concerned about. But there is one question that I have now through 4 weeks. Are the Houston Texans a real team? Like, are they? I don't want to say good yet, because the Pittsburgh team they beat is all kinds of stinky. But
and
like,
Kenny Hurt too is not great for them.
yeah.
No.
But are they a real team? Like, are they
Yes.
gonna be a threat week in and week out this year?
They're not a like an easy win. Like, they're not even the Cardinals. They're a step above that. I look at them as they can 100% beat you if you are not ready to go.
I mean, I would go even a little beyond that. I don't think I would say that they are a good team, but there's a lot of reason to like what they are. And I think I said at one point during the offseason that I do like a lot of the pieces they have. I mean, it's not a great wide receiver room, for example, but there's guys that at least you can say, yeah, like, that's a decent
I don't know,
player.
man. Nico Collins and Tank Dell,
Well,
I think, are both legitimately good NFL players.
I love Dell. I loved him coming out of Houston last year as a college prospect. I liked Nico Collins a lot as a prospect. Then he just kind of was lost at sea for a little bit, but the team sucked so badly. And now he's reemerging, and he destroyed me in fantasy yesterday. I'll be honest with you. Destroyed me.
Here's the other thing, too. I think they have a real coach. I think that's they have a couple of years had like guys who weren't real serious on the sideline.
Lovey was just cashing a check.
Yeah, short timers, basically. David Culley was a short timer. They got a real coach now in DeMeco Ryans, and I think that makes a big difference. I think that's a team like Jacksonville won on Sunday, but that might have been more about like they should have blown out the Falcons. The Falcons are wrecked.
Yeah, they're terrible.
I think they're a real threat in that division. I think that I don't feel like the division winner in the AFC South is going to be much better than 9-8, 10-7. Why can't the Texans do that? Especially if CJ Stroud is the real thing. Well. And he looks legit.
The Denver Broncos looked like the worst team in football. And then the Chicago Bears realized they were the worst team in football. Honestly, okay. This weekend I got to talk to a Chicago fan, and honestly, he said, I just want the number 1 pick. He goes, and here's the reason why. Like, I genuinely want my team to tank. I want them to make sure they get the number 1 pick.
Oh yeah, the biggest Bears fan I know in my life, my buddy Doug,
is so
he is openly cheering for 0-17.
I sent him a text. Now, this Chicago Bears fan wants 1-16 because he doesn't want to be
okay.
over.
All right, fair.
But he goes, seriously, this is shaping up great because they'd have pick number 1
and they have Carolina's pick,
and they'd have pick number 2, and there's a decent chance that you could maybe trade back if enough quarterbacks get up there enough to whereas you get, another pick, plus you could still get Marvin Harrison, turn Justin Fields into a running back, team him up with Khalil Herbert, and then you got Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, those two guys. That's the best thing. Like, the Bears honestly did that loss because the Broncos defense is horrible.
They are, according
what happened to them?
They don't have dudes.
Vance Joseph happened to them.
Wow.
Vance Joseph happened
because if they lose that one, the Broncos, there's not many wins on the schedule for the Broncos in my opinion, because it's not the offense, it's just their defense is so bad.
DVOA says that's the worst 4-game start for a defense in NFL history since like 1986.
Yeah, so that is a huge break for the Bears, and they're gonna win a game or two.
Yeah,
but if I'm the Bears, I am hoping and praying that you don't win more than 3, or you hope that the Carolina Panthers continue to stink because they're 0-4. But yeah, that was.
Can I offer one other performance, one other team that was written off at the start of the year that I think is going to contend for a division title? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Their defense is good.
Their defense is good. You know who else has been legitimately good? Baker Mayfield has been. And you can't even make he has Mike Evans argument because Mike Evans got hurt yesterday. And he still put up his best numbers in 3 years.
Yeah, he's played well.
My only rebuttal to that is that right now, according to, gosh dang it, I forget which metric this is. It might be EPA. But right now, Josh Dobbs is playing like a top 10 quarterback in the league. So still a small sample size. We'll see. And certainly the Saints not having Derek Carr made them an unserious football team yesterday. But yeah, that's another division where somebody's got to win it. And it ain't going to take much more than 9-10 wins to do it. Why can't it be a Tampa Bay team that still has like plenty of defensive talent, plenty of pieces?
Coming up, we'll recap the weekend with the good, the bad, and the ugly. With the good, the bad, and the ugly. My good, I was in Steamboat, Colorado in the fall.
Nice.
It is beautiful. That was my good. Whole weekend was awesome.
Nice.
Also, the altitude, real thing.
Real thing. Good for me, NFL players with type 1 diabetes this weekend. Huge weekend. Noah Gray, touchdown reception.
Yep.
Mark Andrews, 2 touchdown receptions, one of which was sick, by the way.
That was a great throw.
And it was a good throw.
Yeah.
Sick catch, too. And probably the best player in the London game was a little former Wyoming Cowboy linebacker by the name of Chad Muma. Sick play. Now, he also got his ankles broken and sent into the shadow realm by Bijan Robinson, but that's going to happen a lot. Other than that play, he was fantastic.
Okay.
Ton of tackles, pass breakup, TFL. Sick, type 1 diabetic, insulin dependent. Huge day for the culture of people who have to take shots when they eat sugar.
My good, I am, as it stands, 4-0 in the 580 Sports Pick, which we'll get to. We'll recap those in more detail in the 3 o'clock hour. And I just want to talk about what a joy it was to watch Air Force grind San Diego State into powder on Saturday night. They won 49-10 and barely broke a sweat in the process. When you're running that triple and you've got a functional passing game, oh, buddy, you are a problem.
There's nothing worse for a defensive coordinator knowing you can't do anything.
I really believe Air Force can run the rack in the Mountain West. The Mountain West is good. Like, they still got to play Fresno State, I think, who's really good. And I think they got to still play Wyoming, who's tough. Just ask Texas Tech and Texas. Wyoming's tough. But Air Force, I think, is good enough to be a New Year's Six team from the Big Five.
That'd be wild. My bad is, and I'm going to go with the bad. Could be the ugly, but I'm going to save the ugly there for there. The bad, though, if you run onto a field and you run into a player of the opposing team on purpose and then swear at them, you get anything coming your way. I'm sorry. But LSU and Ole Miss. Ole Miss beats LSU. Player runs onto the field yelling and screaming and videoing everything, because that's what you got to do, you Gen Zers. I went there. And runs right into an LSU player who's already upset. He just lost. Not happy. If he decides to duff you out and give you the good old 1-2, maybe you should have done that. You know, but I am team storm the court, but I'm also team you need to do it the right way, because if you don't, that is their field. That would be like me going into a gorilla pit and then getting upset at the gorilla if I try to get him all riled up.
Yeah, I am in full agreement with you. And I know there are going to be people who hear me say this and are going to tell me it's unrealistic. But I had someone tell me on Twitter, like, oh, yeah, because a bunch of drunk college kids in the stands are really going to make the best decisions. Well, here's the decision. Don't get drunk. Like,
don't run onto the field.
Don't run onto the field. You can do whatever you want, but you've got to be willing to face the consequences. I have no problem with running on the court or the field, and I have no problem if you get punched in the face because you're a moron.
Yeah, don't be stupid. I always go back to the KU K-State rushing the court in Manhattan, and the guy bumped Jamari Traylor. That dude is so lucky. Jamari is a great human. Otherwise, he could have turned around and just kaboomed him, and I would have been like, shouldn't have
done it. No, 100% agree.
That was my bad.
Do you guys remember a week ago when my good was that I had just had a great football weekend? We had an awesome Friday night game of the week. We had KU won, the Packers won, all the like ancillary college teams my family members support, they all won. K-State, Chiefs, everybody won.
Not the case this time.
Friday night was fun. That was a blast going to the War on 24. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. Washburn lost. I was on the call of that game on Saturday. Made a 5-hour trip to Kearney, and then they lost. KU lost. They only scored 14 points, lost by 26, gave up 661 yards to Texas. That was bad.
You forgot about the Packers on
Thursday.
No,
I did not forget. Thursday, Packers got their asses kicked. It looked like bums. It sucked. It was garbage. And to top it all off, finally the Brisbane Lions make it to the grand final, and they lose to the damn Magpies of Collingwood. Every single Collingwood, I know.
Man, damn.
Every single football team, Aussie rules or gridiron rules that I follow, got their asses blasted this weekend, and it sucked.
Dan, what is your bad?
My bad is that people think that the NFL is rigged because they are actually trying to market to female fans by really milking this Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing for all that it's worth. And now it's evidence. Even Sauce Gardner's on social media saying, if I was a Swiftie, maybe the NFL wouldn't have thrown that flag on me. Be serious, people. Be smart and serious, people. All this conspiracy theory stuff looks bad on everybody.
I like Sauce Gardner. I think he's a good player. He's not had a very good sophomore year. My advice to Sauce would be to shut the hell up, because he keeps talking, and it's not really working, because this looks dumb. Last week, he was like, Mac Jones punched me in the nuts. I've got video, and the video didn't actually show that happening. Like, I might lay low for a little bit if I was Sauce.
Maybe just like vent to your friend, the Buffalo with Wings from the Buffalo Wild Wings commercial.
My ugly for the weekend is anything and everyone involved in Team USA in the Ryder Cup. Holy could, and I am including the players, who, by the way, if you don't think you can get shook as a golfer going to another venue, folks, I give you Friday morning when Team USA was not just shook. I want to know if we should check their pants because, wow, they were awful and they never recovered and they brought no energy. There's no unity. They care only about money. They're worrying about hats. And then you got who I like, Joe LaCava. I do. Joe, what are you doing, dude? Rory McIlroy had every right to yell and scream and go after you because you guys are getting destroyed. This is what Joe LaCava did, the caddy for Patrick Cantlay. He got all excited because they made a putt. Yeah, great. You made one putt. Yeah, the Europeans still had a chance to, make a putt. Wait until that's over with before you start, talking trash and doing all that, even though you're losing and getting destroyed. This would be like, giving the incomplete sign when you're down 40-0. Everything involving Team USA is just an absolute joke when it comes to the Ryder Cup on the other side of the pond. Like at home, they're great because they get that fan base and going, but man, when they go to the other side, it's not even close. Like the last two Ryder Cups in France and Italy have been a joke. USA is just don't even watch it in 4 years.
It's the last 5 Ryder Cups. They've all been blowouts. That's my ugly too. I like this event in theory, and it's great golf, but as a competitive event, it's broken because neither team, like the last 5 Ryder Cups, the closest margin was what we saw this weekend, 5 points. Yeah. And it really wasn't even that close. So it's this great event in theory. If you love golf, like you're supposed to love this Ryder Cup, but the home team has such an advantage that as a competitive event kind of sucks. And that sucks that the Ryder Cup sucks. Yeah. That was my ugly.
I didn't have much of an ugly until late last night when I saw the clip of Rodney Harrison on the Peacock Sunday Night Football postgame show trying to bait Chris Jones into saying mean things about Zach Wilson. Did you see this clip?
Yeah, he called him garbage.
Yeah, he called him he's just ripping on Wilson over and over. Like, yeah, do we all get that he's bad? Have some professionalism.
Yeah.
And props to Chris Jones because he kept his cool. And not that I'm surprised he did, but he kept praising him and saying, no, he played well. We knew we had to prepare for him. He can really throw, yada, yada. Rodney Harrison, who's always been the worst member of NBC's TV crew, just keeps going in on him for no reason.
It was like he was doing the Will Sennett tweet about Zach Wilson. As a guy who also sucks and is an idiot, is blowing it and is a loser and should be destroyed and beat up and stomped on and is a dumbass and should be shoved into a burlap sack and thrown into a lake and has a chimp brain and isn't tall enough.
Yeah, like
isn't tall enough. Wow.
You didn't have to do him like that, man.
That was that.
He's a professional. Chill out.
And he called him like the person. Like he said, Zach Wilson is garbage. Not like he played like garbage. That was kind of harsh. Coming up, we'll talk Big 12 football. Matt Verderame joins us in the 2 o'clock. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on the way on this Victory Monday. It's nice to have 3 Victory Mondays in a row.
Big day for me yesterday. Now I'm 1 Chiefs win away from cashing my Chiefs start the year 4-1 or better bet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Now all they have to do is beat the Vikings, which a lot of teams are doing.
Yeah.
Carolina couldn't. But
Chiefs going to be my favorite team in the NFL this week.
I know.
God, I hate the
Brennan's
Minnesota Vikings.
really on board right now for the Chiefs.
I hate them so much.
We got so much to get to here for the next 3 hours, but we are going to hear from Matt Verderame. We'll hear from Andy Reid. Talk a little Big 12. Lots to get to. As always, let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Also, go to our YouTube page. Very easy to get to. Go to youtube.com. Type in 580 Sports Talk. Easy enough. Hit the subscribe button, and you can interact. Let us know what the comment on the YouTube comment section on our live stream. We're going to get to the Big 12 this weekend.
The Big 12!
College football, Fox Sports. When I found out Saturday morning that Jalon Daniels had not gotten his pads on, like that was the tweet that I saw, like Jalon Daniels, not even in his pads. I'm like, no, please, no, not for any other reason than I wanted to see what KU's full-blown offense with all of their, all of the bullets in the chamber, all of their guns firing, everything clicking against that Texas defense. Because this is the best offense that Texas has faced. Yes, I'm including you, Alabama. And I wanted to see it. And Jason Bean, to someone who I was with this weekend, who's a Texas fan, was like, well, Jason Bean and Jalon Daniels are pretty much the same. Our defense is that good. I almost went to jail in Steamboat because I was gonna
mountain jail.
I was gonna commit assault. I don't get that when you're that diehard of a fan, but whatever.
I saw that take from Kansas fans,
like, ridiculous,
after week 1, and I like Jason Bean. I do. I think he's a great dude. He's an awesome athlete. That speed is phenomenal. And as a backup option, you could certainly do worse.
Yes.
But there is a reason that when Bean got hurt in 2021 and Daniels replaced him, that the discussion about who should be starting never went back the other direction.
No.
Jason Bean's a great athlete, and he's got an arm. It's not super accurate all the time, and the decision making is, to me, the biggest difference. By far the biggest difference between the two of them. Jalon Daniels is that good of a quarterback. Bean is a really nice athlete who plays quarterback.
And that's why I was bummed, because I wanted to see what KU could do on offense. And the Texas defense basically just said, good luck, Jason Bean. We think our guys are just flat out better than your guys, or better than you. We're going to make you throw the tight window. We're going to make you throw a one-on-one ball. We're going to make you do this. And they stacked the box. Devin Neal had no room to run whatsoever.
There were a couple of runs early in the game out of triple option stuff, which, play to your quarterback's strengths. You've got an athletic, mobile quarterback who's a good runner.
But you're not going to be able to do that.
But yeah,
you got to have the viable passing attack.
That's not sustainable.
And
for
they didn't.
Minutes.
They didn't. And then basically what happened in this game is Texas just wore down KU on the defensive front. Texas has got a lot of, and Texas has a lot of talent. We know that. And maybe this year they finally put it together, but they also realized, oh, wow, in the second half, our offensive line is really good. KU's offense or defense has been on the field a long time. Let's just hand it off and just, pound and just. In the second half, I don't even know how many pass attempts Quinn Ewers had. It was less than probably 12, because they just handed it off, and that was the end of the game. And that was a bummer, because they can't do that potentially if KU's offense, that whole, complementary football thing, keeps their defense off the field a little bit, maybe makes it a little bit tighter. When it was halftime, I was like, man, maybe they did enough smoke and mirrors that KU would be able to get this thing done. And the offense just had no counter punch in the second half, and Texas took advantage of it. And that's what is frustrating, because now the narrative is, oh gosh, I think Texas is really good. I do. I think they're really, really good. But to say that they beat KU 40-14 with a backup quarterback, like that's just the way it is. And I feel for KU fans, because this was a game, if Jalon Daniels is healthy, and if they had Jalon Daniels the entire game and the score is 40-14, then I would have said, you know what? This is the first time that I'll say, Texas not only is legit, but they are very good. Because if you hold KU's offense to 14 points with Jalon Daniels healthy, ready to go, that is a tremendous effort. But Jason Bean is a completely different beast, and they just got steamrolled, and the snowball went down the hill, and it just got out of control.
And presumably, we don't know that this is not true, but I would presume that KU woke up Saturday morning with a game plan that did not include Jason Bean playing anything.
No, it sounded, because these tweets that are coming out from all these people are going like it was like shock. Like almost when you read it, you're like, they couldn't believe it either.
There wasn't like the big line movement in Vegas that you usually see when there's an injury of this significance.
I mean, shoot, Bean said himself after the game, he knew 45 minutes before kick he was going to start.
So that's hard to have to adjust in that way on the fly. Everything you put together for the week of a game with your starting quarterback, and now you're back. Now you've got to go to battle with a very different quarterback. And look, this is not a knock on Jason Bean's athletic ability. It's real. There's a reason you're comfortable with him as a backup to come in spot duty or for a game or two. But when you're going up against a team where you have the talent deficit that you do, you need all your dudes to play to mount up a challenge against that roster that's just chock full of dudes. And KU's dude wasn't there. He wasn't able to play. And it's disappointing that we didn't get to see what this game would look like with Jalon Daniels under center. This is the part where I say I'm not sure it would have been all that different, because Texas, frankly, left a lot of money on the table. This could have been so much worse. I think Texas played with their food a little bit offensively. Some weird decision-making in the red zone. Quinn Ewers threw a terrible pick in the red zone. If Texas had wanted to score 60, I think they could have. I think this, and I think that's more about Texas than it is about Kansas. I think Texas is legitimately a playoff contender. I think they are one of the 4 best teams in the country. I think it's very clear at this point that they are one of the 4 best teams in the country. And it's more about them having that many dudes than it is about Kansas, I think. I think what we saw was what generally tends to happen when you have a team that's one of the 4 best in the country play a team that doesn't quite have that level of talent.
I think KU scores more for sure if Daniels is in there. But let's also be completely honest about the biggest reason why KU lost this game. It was not the fact that Jason Bean played quarterback. It's the fact that the defense gave up 661 yards of offense. Like, JD playing corner? He tackling out there? No. And could KU have gotten to 21, 28, 30 points if he was in there? Sure. And if Texas does nothing differently, their offense versus KU's defense, then we're talking about a game where KU is really in it. You give up 660 yards. I know Texas is good. They should not be putting up numbers like that. There's a, I don't know his last name, but there's an account on Twitter, Statsowar is, his name is Parker Fleming. That's his full name. I didn't know his last name. He puts out a bunch of different analytical, game projections, the advanced number box scores and things like that. And he's got a graph he puts out every week of, did we really get beaten that badly? And it's essentially the success rate for the winning team compared to the success rate for the losing team.
Net success rate.
Hold on a second. Where's Michigan and Nebraska in that game? Because my goodness, all of my Nebraska friends were just despondent this weekend.
Michigan for the season, number 1. They're beating they are that much just farther ahead of their opponents.
Dudes, yeah.
This week,
it had to be up there.
Michigan was number 1.
Yeah.
They had the most dominant win of any team in the country.
That was the easiest bet this weekend, and I I should have made that my show picks. I still went 2-0 in college, so no big deal. But that was the easiest projection that Michigan was going to win that game by more than 19 points.
And I think the thing that backs up Dan's point about how Texas probably messed around and could have won by even more, the third most decisive win of the weekend was Texas over Kansas. To the point where Kansas, which has been in the top 10 of this metric in all 4 of their previous games, all of them. Mm-hmm. They are now barely above average or like break equilibrium and success rate for the season. That's how badly they got beaten this weekend. And look, I'm not like completely mad about it. Like Jalon Daniels didn't play. That obviously changed things for the offense. Sometimes you just play a really good team and you get beaten. And I'm not surprised at all that Texas beat Kansas. I'm not. I picked it on the show. I thought Texas would win. I thought it'd be more competitive, but I also thought 6 was going to be out there.
There's a reason they were 16.5-point favorites. Yeah. Like Texas is that far ahead of, and I think it might be most of the Big 12. I mean, we'll find out if it's all the Big 12 this week because we got Red River. And we'll find out if they're that much better than Oklahoma, how much better than Oklahoma they are. They're 5-point favorites. I think that was where that line started. But this is a testament, I think, as much as anything else, to how good Texas is, to how much they've improved in the trenches where they can physically bully teams.
And that's where they did up front. KU got big boyed up front.
Yep. And if Texas doesn't lose Jatavian Sanders, their tight end, to an injury in the first half, that probably would have smoothed out some of the issues they had in the red zone. They also, I think, Bert Auburn missed a couple of field goals. Like this could have been 60-14, and it would not have looked out of place. This was total domination. I really do. I don't think anybody's beaten Texas the rest of the way. It's really hard for me to see because I think and we'll have
talk
a talent
about
advantage. It's the talent advantage.
I think we'll find out. I think the one team that can beat them is Oklahoma on Saturday. I do think Oklahoma has the horses. Their offense is playing well, and their defense is is a lot better. But Texas has played Alabama, who at the time they didn't look very good. Now maybe Alabama improved a little bit. We'll kind of wait and see. But Oklahoma has not played has not played anybody yet.
No.
So that will be interesting to see how Oklahoma handles this game coming up. The last thing about KU is, and this is why I say there are 2 injuries that you don't want to have. Feet injuries in your foot and back injuries. I say that all the time. Knee injuries you can come back from. ACLs you can come back from. But back injuries, they are absolutely just, they're time bombs, and you don't know what's going to happen. And from what it sounds like, it Travis Kelce in the Super Bowl. Remember Travis Kelce? Yeah, it was was it the Super Bowl or was it the title game? I don't remember. Where his back locked up, and they're like, we don't know if he's going to play.
That was the AFC Championship game.
Championship game, against the Bengals. His back locked up the night before. Like, Jalon Daniels wakes up Saturday morning, and his just back locks up. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing that you can prepare it. And this is what's going to happen the entire year until they either, have found the big reason why. Like right now, I can't tell you if he'll suit up on Saturday against UCF. He played the entire week.
Didn't practice today.
Yeah. So like without him, we'll have to wait and see. UCF can be got, and boy, can they be got, because we'll get to that coming up in just a second. But man, I feel bad for Jalon Daniels, because a back injury, you just never know. You never know when it's going to pop up. What's the opening line right now? KU favored by what? I'm going to say
still 3.
I was going to say 4 or 5.
It opened originally at 3.5. But obviously that was when the expectation was that Jalon Daniels was going to end up playing. Right now it's 2.5. KU minus 2.5.
Yeah.
Coming up, we'll take a look at some other Big 12 scores and then talk a little NFL with Matt Verderame. hour. Royals have press conference tomorrow. We will get you that coming up tomorrow in the probably in the 2 o'clock hour tomorrow, as the Royals will be speaking.
Matt Quatraro is going to be there, by the way. So any fans who maybe were dissatisfied with his year one performance in the dugout,
if you're dissatisfied, if you're like, yeah, it's the manager's fault that they lost 106, good for you. Good for you.
It will be Quatraro and JJ Piccolo speaking with the media tomorrow.
Yeah. And honestly, JJ Piccolo should say this. I will be spending money this offseason because my boss tells me, go spend money, find good players. I want a new stadium. That'll be somehow the point that he'll come across as, yeah, my boss really wants this new stadium, and I'm not so certain that if we don't spend money and go out and get players that'll pass. So we'll get some more Royals talk in just a little bit. But the Big 12 this weekend, man, it was a wild weekend. I ain't gonna lie to you. Central Florida looked like they were going to roll right over Baylor, and Baylor pulled the Undertaker and just stood up from the coffin.
Yeah, that was totally bizarre.
Wow.
Baylor looked dead. That first quarter was as dominant a quarter as any Big 12 team has played all year.
Wow.
What UCF did to Baylor in the first 15 minutes of that game. And it was 35-7 with 14 minutes to go. And they lost. That was incredible. It really, really was. Oklahoma and Texas right now are the best teams in the Big 12, and it doesn't look like it's particularly close. But are we ready for this? Is Neil Brown saving his job? Yes.
Folks,
so funny.
West Virginia is 4-1, and their only loss is to arguably a team that is destroying teams every single week in Penn State. Now, Penn State hadn't played anybody, and I understand that. And Penn State beat West Virginia 38-15, and it wasn't close. But when you have wins over Pitt, Texas Tech, and TCU, and you go on the road and win at TCU, you ready for this? West Virginia's next 2 games at Houston, Oklahoma State, UCF, BYU. What?
That's winnable.
What?
That's a decent schedule.
Here's
What
the
is
thing.
this?
What it feels like is West Virginia's this year's Texas Tech, where they are winning all the one-score games. And Texas Tech is losing all the one-score games. Sure, they found a way to beat Houston this week.
Found a way.
Matt Wells is calling Neil Brown every 20 minutes and saying, only answer my calls. Do not answer any other calls from the Morgantown area code. Don't answer text messages. Do not. Because
also,
that happened to me and I got fired, even though I had a winning record.
It's also very funny that there's a lot going on that is not football related with West Virginia University presently, involving like their curriculum and classes that they offer and things like that. It's a whole thing. You can do your Googles on that if you want. But that feels like an institution that maybe would like to avoid paying a buyout to a head coach right about now.
That also is dealing with the drama of its, favorite son, men's basketball coach, steering himself off the deep end within the last 6 months.
Nobody's happier that they're off to a 4-1 start than the administration at West Virginia. It is a great distraction.
They should be bowl eligible in 2 weeks. They should beat Houston and Oklahoma State. Like they should. Like that's crazy.
But I think they are equally capable of not losing.
Yeah,
those games.
that's true.
Or
off,
not
off
winning
to a
those
great
games. Start
though. That they're 4. I think their win over under this year was 4.5.
Yeah.
I believe it was.
Yeah. Game that stood out to me from over the weekend. I didn't get to watch the entirety of it. I was following it when I could, and then I watched a decent part of the second half. Friday night, Cincinnati BYU. BYU ends up winning that game by just 8. Cincinnati is awful. Like, that is a team that is just miserable to watch.
I told you they finished last this year in the Big 12.
I didn't think they'd finish. I thought West Virginia would finish last, but I think all of us were on the train that they were not going to be any good and that their head coaching hire was a bad decision. And all of us, I think, even are below how negative Paul Meyerberg is about that coaching decision. They're just awful to watch. Every year there's a couple of teams around the sport that are like, oh my God, they're so fun. Whether they're good or bad, like, oh, they're just a blast to watch. Like Washington this year, or Air Force. We were talking about them earlier.
Washington State's a good vibes team.
Yeah. And then there
Oregon
are teams.
State, too.
Yeah, Oregon State's in the same camp. They had a really good win on Friday night.
Utah, yeah.
And then there are teams that you just, like Texas A&M. I don't want to watch this. Like, I don't care. That team could be 7-1 this year, and I'd be like, I don't want to watch this. This is not fun. This is not interesting.
Yeah, it's Jimbo.
Well, I mean, that's a large reason why.
Ain't nobody like Jimbo.
Or Bobby Petrino. Or DJ Durkin. It's the most hateable coaching staff maybe in college football history. And Cincinnati's one of those teams. Like, it's just, I don't want to watch them ever.
Have you guys tally up the 4 newcomers, Big 12 record right now?
1-7.
And why is there a 1 there?
Because Cincinnati beat BYU. Or BYU beat Cincinnati.
Yeah, somebody had to win.
Yeah.
Like it's been a rough go for the 4 new schools. It really has.
Kind of knew it would be. I mean, it's a level up for all of those programs. It's a different level of talent that they're facing, different kind of road atmospheres. It's just different.
So if you were to power rank those 4 schools right now, given what we've seen and then what's left for them this year, how different would that 1 through 4 be than what it was at the start of the year?
I probably at the start of the year would have gone UCF, BYU, Cincinnati, Houston.
I would have done the same.
And I think I would flip-flop Houston and Cincinnati. UCF is, that is inexplicable to lose that game at home. Like, I have no idea what to make of that because you blew a 35-7 lead. You also took a 35-7 lead.
Mm-hmm.
They played K-State, and who I still think is the 3rd best team in the league. They played K-State tough at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. I think UCF is going to beat some people before the season is out, especially when they get John Reese Plumlee back or John Rice Plumlee. They're going to be better. They've got athleticism on their offense that I don't think a lot of teams in this league can match. I still think that's the best of the 4 newcomers with BYU right behind. But yeah, Cincinnati is wretched. Like Emory Jones is just not it. There's 3 different schools that have found out he's not it.
He's just not a good player.
I think BYU will end up with the best record of the new schools. And one of the main reasons why is because of their home field advantage. It's hard to win in Provo. It really, really
You got to deal with altitude.
Buddy, I dealt with that this weekend, and I kept telling myself, Jake, it's the altitude. You're not that out of shape. Probably a combo of both. Let's be real. Let's be honest.
I like BYU's remaining schedule, too, though. They still have TCU on the road, which they'll be an underdog for that game in all likelihood. But Texas Tech at home, they should win that game. Texas, they'll lose to Texas on the road. West Virginia road, Iowa State and Oklahoma at home. They finish on the road in Stillwater.
By the way, that Oklahoma game, second to last game of the year, watch out for that one.
Trap game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Watch out for that one.
All right.
Telling you right now.
Yeah.
November 18th in Provo.
Might be cold, might be snowing.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get in Provo in November.
I don't know if you're ready for that one, Oklahoma.
Yeah. So I think they're all about as good or bad as I would have expected them to be. But yeah, the vibes are a little bit different from team to team than maybe I expected them to be.
Worse vibes for Cincinnati. About the same vibes for Houston. They played. I was entertaining. That was good old fashioned Big 12 football. What we got from Houston and Texas Tech.
Yeah,
that's that good stuff.
Yeah. I think they have a talent deficiency because I think they've lost a lot of good players to the NFL in recent years, but you really think Dana is putting in a whole lot of extra work in the office or on the recruiting trail? And you think Dana, you know who used to be on the road all the time?
David Beatty.
Well,
Beatty.
I was going even from a different sport, like Bruce Weber. Bruce Weber was never home.
Man.
Like, did he rent or did he buy in Manhattan? Like, he was just always traveling.
Hold on, guys, I got to board a plane.
Like American Airlines concierge key flyer, Bruce Weber. Like, the dude was just always
double
traveling.
gold member, platinum with a diamond encrusted delta on it.
And you can say whatever you want about him as a basketball coach or as a recruiter or a schemer or whatever. But you cannot argue the fact that he was trying hard. And I respect that a great deal. You think that's Dana? You think Dana's like, I'm going to fly across the state. We're going to West Texas to recruit. Then I'm flying to Florida, and then we're going to Ohio, and then I'm going to be back all in 36 hours. Nah, Dana is ripping cigs and chugging Red Bull and watching PBR on TV.
When you've been having a 6-pack of Red Bull a day every day for 15 years, it stops hitting the same after a while.
Yeah, we try hard enough.
The wings that it gives you do not propel you as far.
Not as much.
Nah, a lot of bad coaching vibes in the league right now. Like, I still wouldn't feel good if I was Neil Brown, by the way. Like, all my fans, probably some of my players, the administration, everyone is just assuming we'll go, 1-4 to start the year and I'll get fired. Now we're 4-1. Well, how am I supposed to feel about this? Like, I can't feel safe.
Coming up, we'll talk all things NFL with Matt Verderame. Talking all things NFL with our NFL insider. He is Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Matt, a lot of people freaking out over a lot of different things. Taylor Swift, holding, Patrick Mahomes. How do you kind of summarize what happened last night?
I thought that it was an ugly game for Kansas City. It was a game that got a lot closer than it needed to. They were up 17-0. It became a circus. Jimmy Traina, who I work with at Sports Illustrated, wrote a column about how NBC's broadcast was atrocious. I would agree. I think it turned into pop culture night more than it was about a game that was a very good football game. I think we've kind of reached our saturation point here. I think it's time to just move on. But listen, overall for the Chiefs, I thought defensively they were up and down. Offensively, they were great early. Then they went into the tank the last 3 quarters. But, they found a way to win. Ultimately, they're 3-1. They're the number 1 seed in the AFC, and they've got 4 games coming up they're going to be heavy favorites in all of. So, you feel pretty good long term, but they got to figure it out with the receivers. And at some point here, the Juwan Taylor stuff, the penalties just have to stop. I mean, it's reached a crisis point with them.
Well, Matt, I mean, the Chiefs only won because the league is rigged, right? You know, Mahomes sliding down, that wasn't actually, smart play. That was the league being rigged. They didn't throw a flag on Donovan Smith for a play that wasn't a hold. That was rigged too.
Right, and they forgot to rig the previous play when they threw the flag on Trey Smith, and they remembered they were rigging the game and didn't throw the flag.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's why the Chiefs won, right? Because, NFL rigged.
We really have reached the point where we pander to the dumbest segment of society in the world. And we just allow these people to think they're making a point. And you're not making a point. If you think the league's rigged, you're an idiot. Like, I don't know what else to say. There's no world. Like, what if one of those picks Mahomes threw, they got dropped accidentally? Like, then what? What are you going to do? Like, run the play back? All right, listen, this time you got to catch it. Don't forget, that's in the script. I mean, first of all, on those penalties, Sauce Gardner's penalty, I hate to tell Sauce, it's a penalty, man. Like, you mugged him going down the field. It's a penalty. It's a penalty in the fourth quarter, the first quarter of a preseason game. Like, it's holding. It's a clear holding. If that wasn't called, that would have been far more egregious. The Donovan Smith thing, I kind of fall two ways in this. First of all, he definitely had to grab his shirt. Okay, and if they want to call that, fine on. The other side of it is Jermaine Johnson stopped trying to defeat the block and stood there and just started slapping Donovan Smith. So you're not going to get that call. You're not fighting through it. And quite honestly, if you really want to be technical about it, just legal hands to the face, Jermaine Johnson. So, I mean, my way of coming down on this is the same no matter what teams are involved and who it benefits. On a play like that, it's 3rd and 22. Stop him. Get off the field. I don't let Mahomes run for 30 yards. I mean, to me, the Jets lost that game because late in the game they couldn't get off the field and they had a penalty that was a clear foul that was part of it. But people in society and in sports have to stop just blaming the next guy and occasionally go, you know what? Yeah, that was our fault lost that game. It was my fault. I screwed up something at work. Like, just accept it. People make mistakes that happen. Sauce Gardner, sorry, bud. It's a holding. It is. It's clear as day.
The receiver question, is this we're still working it out and it will get better? Or is this you know what? They're just not getting open right now, and they probably are going to have the same problem throughout the year. How do you view that situation?
I think it's a little bit of both. So I like Rashee Rice quite a bit. I think he's going to be a very good player for the Chiefs. I know he drops the ball occasionally. I get it. But that's something you can fix. You can work through it. Jerry Rice dropped the ball a ton his rookie year. He figured it out. Like, I'm not saying Rashee Rice is going to be Jerry Rice, but my point is you can fix that. I look at the rest of that group and think, okay, MVS is who he is. He's going to end up between 600 and 700 yards. That's long been proven that that's who the guy is throughout his career. I think he'll be there. Kelsey will end up getting his yardage. The concern I have is the rest of the group. Kadarius Toney has done nothing. Nothing. I don't think he's made one play all year down the field, if I recall. Justin Watson, for what Justin Watson is, has been fine, but he's a fourth receiver. I think Noah Gray needs to get more run. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm going into more 2 tight end sets. That kid can play. That kid is a good football player. And if you go to more 2 tight end sets, you're going to get more defenses in base. That's where you want to live if you're the Chiefs, because if you get 3 linebackers on the field, you're going to torch them. I think you've got to see his snap count increase from 40 to 50% up to like 70%, or at least, I don't know, 60, 65%. But my answer to it is Sky Moore at this point needs to just sit down. And I don't mean to be overly critical of Sky Moore. He's played in 4 games this year, and in 2 of them, he does not have 1 catch on 5 targets. It's enough. Like, at this point, give me Justin Ross for 30 snaps a game, and let's see what he can do. Give me more Rashee Rice and less Justin Watson. Because right now, you don't have enough athleticism on the field. You just don't. And Sky Moore is a guy who can occasionally work himself open, but he's not going to do it very often. He's not fast enough. Like, I think you need to, at some point, address this either by changing up the way the snap count is for some of these receivers, or go out and get somebody. The problem is, if you look around the league, who are you getting? I don't know what the answer to that is. I think Darnell Mooney makes the most sense. He's on the last year of a rookie deal. He's been productive in a bad offense in the past. He's not going to cost you a ton to get. And Nagy knows him from Chicago. Like if I'm the Chiefs, that's the guy I'm going out and get. He's not going to fix everything, but he could be a pretty good receiver for you.
We're chatting with Matt Verderame, who covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated and SI.com. You can find him on Twitter at Matt Verderame, and, of course, all of his work in Sports Illustrated. Matt joins us at this time every Monday on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Matt, how cooked are the Bengals?
Pretty cooked, because this isn't getting any better here with Burrow. And I don't know that it's gonna until he sits down. I know Zach Taylor's already said he's starting against the Cardinals. And look, I get it if you're the Bengals in the sense that Burrow wants to play and you don't want to tick off your franchise player. But at some point, for his own good, you have to overrule him. I mean, the Chiefs did that in the playoffs last year with Mahomes in a playoff game. They made him go get x-rayed. They made him sit down for a little while they figured it out. And this is something that clearly, now Burrow can't throw the ball. Burrow has been not just bad. Burrow has been awful this year. Okay, I ran through this. I just did a bit of my quarterback rankings that'll go up Wednesday on SI. So Burrow's 26th in the league right now in passing yardage. He is, and then he's in the 30s in QBR, yards per attempt, and completion percentage. I mean, he has been awful. They've scored 3 offensive touchdowns in 4 games, and one of them came in garbage time. They can't do anything. And so I don't know what the point of playing Burrow is. If you're going to be this bad playing Burrow, why don't you just sit him for the next 2 games, then they have a bye week, and just say, look, we're going to sit him for 3 games, and hopefully we can find a way to beat Arizona, and even if we lose to Seattle, it's going forth to bye, and it's not great, but like you can dig out of that if Burrow's healthy. You're not digging out of anything with the way Burrow's playing right now. And if you go to 2-4 in the bye, which I think they're going to even with Burrow, their after bye schedule is the Niners and the Bills. I mean, they're staring down the barrel of 2-6 and being finished here if they don't get going. So it's rough. I just, unless Burrow magically heals here, I don't think they're coming out of it because he just can't throw the ball. He cannot plan. He can't drive. He can't protect himself in what has been a crumbling pocket game after game. It's rough. It's really rough right now for Cincinnati.
Sticking with the AFC, I'm not trying to say that the South is the best division in football. In fact, I don't really think it's even close to being the best division in football. But the Colts are kind of frisky, and Anthony Richardson, I mean, the upside is certainly very high. The Texans with C.J. Stroud are super competitive. They have back-to-back 20-plus point wins, which I never thought we'd see. The Jags have not played anywhere near their ceiling. They're 2-2. And the Titans, as long as they have Mike Vrabel as their head coach, they could have the worst roster in the league, and at the very least, they'll be competitive. Is this maybe in the conversation for being the most fun division in football right now?
I guess it depends on your definition of fun, but it could be the most competitive division.
That's kind of fun.
Like, it could be. It could also be terrifying depending on the week. But look, I'll say this. Stroud has been really good. Like, if you're a Texans fan, you've gone through 3 years where they've won a combined 10 games. C.J. Stroud can play ball. Like, that kid can throw the football. And Ryans is a good head coach. So you got a real future ahead of you. I don't know that the president's going to yield the playoff spot or anything like that, but they have some talent. The Colts with Richardson, look, he's a little less polished, which is to be expected. He has a lot fewer passes over his collegiate career, and even dating back to high school. But, yeah, the upside is huge. It's awesome, which is why he was taken 4th overall. Tennessee, as you point out, look, Tennessee's probably got the lowest ceiling of the 4, but they're going to win games because Vrabel knows who they are, and they know who they are, and they're going to win games doing exactly what they did yesterday. They're going to punish teams on the ground, and they're going to dominate the line of scrimmage on defense. I still think Jacksonville is going to win that division by a handful of games. But I will say this. Jacksonville offensively this year has been a mess. If you go and look, they were okay against the Colts week 1. They were awful against the Chiefs in week 2. They got bombed by Houston in week 3. And then against Atlanta, you look at the score, and you go 23 points. They had a pick 6 and another pick returned like to 10. So they play the Bills this week over in Europe. They need to show up offensively. But I think talent-wise, it's hard to say that they're not the best team. That's it.
Our guest is Matt Verderame, who covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Joins us, as he does every Monday at this time, on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline to talk NFL football. You can find Matt on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Matt, the game of the week was the Bills and the Dolphins, and for one half, it did not disappoint. Then the second half, it became a Bills rout as the Dolphins offense really struggled to keep their traction. What long-term conclusion from that game are you most comfortable taking after the Bills won that game 48-20 in Buffalo?
The Dolphins have to fix this defense because against good teams, it's just going to turn into what it turned into yesterday. Look, I picked the Bills to win this game because I felt like everybody's going to go nuts over the 70 points of Miami, and they should. Look, 70 points is insane. But the Bills are the more complete team. They're the better team. Now, I picked Miami to win the division, and I still believe they will because I think Miami playing a second-place schedule, I think that matters. And I think they're pretty close in terms of talent level. But Buffalo's been in big games, and they've won some of them. Miami has never really been in the big game, at least not with two. I know last year, Skylar Thompson in the playoffs, but that was a big game. I mean, that was a game where if the Bills lose that game, you're two back. You've lost at home to them. I mean, that's a tough road back. It's not impossible, but it's tough. And the Bills came out and they played like it was a really big game. And the Dolphins came out and played well for, like you said, about a quarter and a half, and then fell apart. And I just look at Miami and think it's all fine and well when you're playing in New England or at Denver, and you just have everything at your disposal offensively. But when you play a team like Buffalo, or if Kansas City gets this offense rolling as we all expect, you play a team like that, they're going to hang 40 on you. And it's not easy all of a sudden to run the ball like crazy and keep everybody off balance. You can't do it anymore. Now you just got to drop back and throw behind the line that quietly is the Achilles heel of that team. Their line is not good. And the Bills just teed off on Tagovailoa all game long. That's the concern for Miami. Like, Miami's going to play Dallas this year. They're going to play Philly this year. They're going to play Kansas City. They're obviously going to see Buffalo again. They have to fix that defense to some degree. They don't have to be great. They got to be decent. The Bills I didn't learn anything about yesterday. I'm not surprised that happened. The Bills we're not going to learn anything about till January anyway. The Dolphins offense, yeah, it's great. But defensively, if you're that bad, you're getting beat by the better teams because those teams are going to put it on you and they're going to play defense.
Did the Minnesota Vikings save their season and put themselves in a position to rally further against the Chiefs this coming Sunday? Or was that just a bad team beating a worse team when they beat Carolina yesterday?
Yeah, I kind of tend to feel like the latter. I mean, look, they beat Carolina. And so in a way, yes, they did save the season. But I don't know that you'll walk away from that going, yeah, Minnesota was great. I mean, Cousins threw one of the worst pick sixes I've ever seen on a ball that it was one of those balls the second he threw it, you're like, that's getting intercepted and run back for a touchdown. I don't know what he was doing. Throws another pick later on. The defense played well, but that's more, frankly, of a function. Carolina can't score a point. They can't block. You know how impossible it is to give up 3 sacks to a safety in the same game? I mean, Carolina gave up 5 sacks, 3 of them were by Harrison Smith. So the problem they have is, look, I wasn't shocked Minnesota won that game because Flores, the defense coordinator there, loves the blitz. They went into that game blitzing 63% of the time, which for people who don't know how to put that in context, like, if you blitz 40% of the time, you lead the league. Minnesota was at 63% going into that game. And you can do that against Bryce Young. If they do that against Patrick Mahomes next week, the Chiefs are going to have a get-right game on offense because they will just torch Minnesota up and down the field. I think, yeah, sure, it's a good win. It's fine. But Minnesota's got a lot of issues they got to figure out.
Last couple questions for you, Matt. Are the Bucs going to be a little bit better than what people anticipated with Baker at quarterback the way he's playing?
Yeah, I got to say, I think so. And I went into the year not expecting much from Tampa. But Baker's only turned the ball over once, and that's the key with him. If he limits his turnovers, he doesn't have to throw for 300 yards. He doesn't have to throw for 4 touchdowns in a game. If he's in a game where he throws for 225 and a touchdown or 2, and he doesn't throw a pick, they're in pretty decent shape because that team can play defense. And it's a division where you look at it and go, who's running away, right? I mean, Carolina stinks. Atlanta's talented, but the quarterback is a major concern. They just beat the Saints. Carr didn't look healthy. I don't think he should have played in that game. He plays, doesn't play well. So you look at it and go, well, why couldn't Tampa go 9-8 or something and win that division? Maybe they can. I don't think they're any kind of a threat come the playoffs. But Baker's played well, and the defense has played very well. And so that's a recipe for success. I think the big question is going to be, can Baker continue to avoid turnovers? Or does he have a month here where, he plays 4 games and he has 8 turnovers? That'll spell doom because they're just not equipped to overcome it. But for right now, he's played very well, and he deserves credit for it.
Matt, we appreciate it as always. Talking a little NFL with you. Have fun tonight with the Seagulls, or with the Seagulls. Well, kind of the Seagulls.
Rude.
With the Seahawks and the Giants. We appreciate it, Matt.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Anytime.
Matt Verderame from
Seagulls.
It's on my shirt, man.
Dan, we're on the same. I picked them to cover the 1.5. That was not like the Seagull over a Sea. By the way, a Seahawk is not a real thing.
The Seattle Seagulls are the name of the team in All-Star Football 2K8.
Yeah. I did not mean that, Dan. Dan, I need the Seahawks to win very badly. So I am Team Seahawks tonight. Don't get me wrong.
Both, pal.
Don't get me wrong. Coming up, we'll talk a little Royals baseball. That's right here on 580. 406-580 Sports Talk on a Victory Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Jake Vaughn, Brandon Dworzinski, Dan Lucero with you. And you just heard that you can win $2,000 a day with the 580 WWW keyword and ghost your bills. Listen every hour between 8 and 5 p.m. for your 580 WWW keyword and enter at 580WWW.com to win $2,000 a day. The keyword is only good for the hour that is announced in. You must be 18 years to play. The keyword is broom. So go to our website.
BROOM.
Broom. And you plug it in. You have a chance to win. That's simple.
Great job, guys. That all sounded very natural.
Very
well
simple.
done.
Very, very simple.
Hold on, I got it. You have a pen? I just
do.
thought of a great
Here.
Ball me, Blazer. Yeah, I just thought of a great random question Tuesday for tomorrow.
Ball me, Blazer.
I love that movie so much. Ball me, Blazer.
Hold on a second. Hey, I got another pen. I also thought of another question.
I flinched. I thought it was going to come at me.
No, I got another question.
Wow, we're already doing show prep for tomorrow. We haven't even finished today.
I got this. Yeah.
That's called multitasking.
That's called putting off having to talk about the Royals one more time.
Yes.
Favorite reason to not talk about Carlos Hernandez.
Fulton. So sad right now.
Hey, James MacArthur had a 2-inning save yesterday. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
When I really get down to it, this should have been my ugly for the week. That the Major League Baseball season finished, and the team that I love and the team that I follow for work lost a combined 209 games this season.
It could be worse.
Hey, that's only 103 losses for the Rockies.
Yeah, I could have been. I guess I could have been an A's fan.
Exactly.
So that's the worst series or team in team history, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because I thought they had never broken 100
They had
losses.
never lost
Yeah.
100, but when you believe, magic can happen.
What did the A's lose?
112.
Man, look at the Royals. Almost 6 games ahead of them.
And the White Sox also lost 101 games. But I will say this, for the 4 100-loss teams in baseball, none of them have a player as much of a franchise cornerstone as Bobby Witt Jr. And none of them have a starting pitcher who looks more like a legitimate frontline dude than Cole Reagans did in August and September. So there are worse starting points you can have for 2024 than that if you are a team coming off of a 56-106 season.
That's a good starting point.
It is. Like,
Good things to build on.
There's an identifiable, like, core of guys you feel good about moving forward with. The problem is you got to fill out roster spots like 7 through 26 a lot more ably than you did this year, particularly the ones that involve throwing the baseball towards home
to
plate.
me, their lineup is not awful. It really isn't.
They ended up at the end of the year with 3 guys who were playing every day that were above average offensive players for the season. That was Edward Olivares, albeit in 107 games. He really finished strong. Bobby Witt Jr., obviously, and Nelson Velasquez, who just hit the snot out of the ball for the 40 games that he was a Royal. And if you want to count Freddie Fermin, who was an above average offensive player for 70 games before he got hurt, then you got half a lineup that performed at, an above average level, plus Salvador Perez and MJ Melendez, who were close enough to it.
Mm-hmm.
And for Melendez, that meant having a big second half, which he did. Like, there are...
Then you throw in Vinny Pasquantino.
Yeah, throw in Vinny, who'll be back next year.
Do you think the last 2 months of Garcia is who he is instead of the first 2 months of the year? Because if he could have sustained it, then that's another guy. But boy, the last 2 months, Garcia did not finish well.
I think that being a 23-year-old in your first full big league season, you hit 272 is not bad. I think that there's certainly some room for improvement, but I'm willing to see what happens for 24-year-old Michael Garcia if he gets stronger. The big question the Royals have to answer for me is who are your corner? What's your outfield picture next year?
Well, I think Velasquez is one of them.
Yes,
you got to give him a shot.
14 home runs in 147 plate appearances while you're playing half your games at Kauffman Stadium is eye-opening stuff.
Yeah.
That's big time power. So I think he's one of your corner outfielders. Center field is either going to be Isbell or Waters, and neither of them a particularly excellent hitter. Isbell good enough with the glove to make his offensive struggles matter less. I'm leaning in that direction. Shout out to Fulton Caster. I guess I'm joining him in Isbell Hive. Right field is the big question. Is that Drew Waters? Is that MJ Melendez? Is that Edward Olivares, who again was as good as any Royals hitter in the final month of the season? And then, okay, it's not one of those guys, then who's your DH? Well, is that Vinny? Is that Salvi? And you make Freddie Fermin the full-time catcher next year? Like, you're running out of at bats. Do you maybe look to trade one of those young corner outfielders for, I don't know, another serviceable starting pitcher? I would explore trading MJ Melendez. I really would. I would go into the offseason ready to explore the idea of trading MJ Melendez for some help on the mound.
Then who plays right field?
Waters.
Like that's the problem there.
If there's one park in the league where I'll live with a guy who's like a sub-average hitter but is really good with the glove, like Waters appears like he can be in right field, I could live with that. Or you go Eddie O can play left, and then you have Velasquez in right, and you get both of them out of the game for defense if it's a one-run game in the eighth inning.
Like, nah, man, eighth inning is just wild every day.
Like every game. I do think the batting lineup can be okay, but to stay in games, you win games with your hitting, you stay in games with your pitching. That is how you do it, especially if you are the Royals and that ballpark. You are never going to outscore people. You got to stay in the game if you are the Royals. And right now, if we did the checklist, like the checklist was, is Brady Singer that guy? He's in the rotation. That's your answer. The other question was, is Daniel Lynch that guy? The answer, we don't know. We don't, you know, like they don't have any answers on their pitching staff. Like right now, tell me, no questions asked. There are only two guys that I can say definitively that they're going to be in the Royals 5-man rotation next year.
Reagan's and Singer, and then
that's it.
Well, they are one more year in the Lyles deal. Like he's going to be there whether you like it or not.
So like that's it, and that's why if I would be willing to trade Melendez to get,
and I really like Melendez, but I think that's the guy that's going to get you the highest rate of return.
Yes.
To if you're looking to bolster your pitching.
First of all, they're going to sign a pitcher. They are going to sign a pitcher, and it had better be a decent one, and they better use some money. So now we've got give me a guy, and let's say Blake Snell, okay? Let's say they do cough up the money for Blake Snell.
They're not going to cough up the money for Blake Snell.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if you truly are going to be competitive,
we're talking starters here.
Yeah, like or the Dodger guy, Urias.
He's never going to pitch in the major leagues again.
Yeah,
second domestic violence arrest.
No, he's done.
Oh, no kidding.
No,
I have not followed baseball because I don't care about baseball.
He will probably never pitch in the major leagues again.
Okay, so cross him off
all-time bad guy.
Cross him off the list then, okay? I'm going off full.
Like Aaron Nola is going to be a free agent, but he's a little too pricey probably.
No. Aaron Nola. The Royals need to start playing in the big leagues here. If you want a stadium, if they don't go out and get a legit pitcher, that tells me you're not a real team this upcoming year. You're not willing to spend money because you can spend the money. You can spend the money. That tells me you're not competitive. So I don't need to care about you. Why should I care about you when you don't even care about if your team's going to win? That's fine if you are not going to try to win. That's totally fine. build it up for 25. Oh, that's perfectly fine. Just give me if you're not going to be invested, why should I not be invested? So let's say they are invested because I want to be optimistic. All right.
Okay.
They invest and they get a starting pitcher. Now you've got
a real one.
A real one. Someone who's got 5 fingers and can throw it hard. Okay. Not named Carlos Hernandez.
3-finger Brown, unfortunately, not eligible.
So you got that guy there. Your second is Cole Reagans. Your third is Brady Singer. If Brady Singer's your third or fourth starting pitcher, that is perfectly fine. It really, really is. And then you've got Jordan Lyles, who let's say is your number 5 because he can be Jeremy Guthrie. Jeremy Guthrie for the Royals in 2015 was, no questions asked, a certifiable okay pitcher in that rotation. He is a guy who kept you in the game for 6 innings, 3 out of 5 games. And your offense was good enough to pick you up in that situation. That is your hope. Like, look up Jeremy Guthrie.
No, you're thinking of him in 2014.
Or is it 2014?
2015 was the year he might have been the worst starting pitcher in the American League.
So what was it 2014 then?
He was 13-11 with a 4.13 ERA.
That is perfectly fine. And Jordan Lyles has done that in the past.
Did it 2 years ago. Didn't do it this year.
He was bad. Maybe there's a bounce back year. But either way, and then you're going to need him a little bit more. Maybe Lynch can improve just a little bit. Maybe another one of these guys.
But he's got to get healthy.
But you got to go out and get somebody at the front of the rotation. Otherwise, this is just a 75-win team again next year because they don't have a big old horse in front.
75. I don't know how you get to 75 if they don't make that. Like
that's what I'm saying.
They're a 75-win team if they make the upgrade in the pitcher. If they go out and do so they've done this before. There's historical precedent for like a bad Royals team deciding it is time for us to make some strides towards being more competitive. We're going to go get a starting pitcher. 2007, they went and got Gil Mesh, right? And that didn't help them get a lot better. They were a 62-win team the year before. I think they were a 63-win team the year after they signed Mesh.
Progress!
And then they won 75 the year after that, which was 07 or 08, which was the year before Greinke got really good. But they went out and they got Gil Mesh, and Gil Mesh pitched as well as you would have hoped that Gil Mesh would pitch over the course of his Royals career. Then in 2013 was when they made the James Shields trade. And there was obviously a great wave of position player talent that was cresting at the time. And I don't know that the Royals, they had to go get James Shields, right? I don't think there's enough in the farm system to go make a trade for a James Shields equivalent in 2023, in 2024. But the idea is there that if you're going to we talk about the bridge year, right? Between being at the bottom of the division to be contending, there has to be that bridge year where guys learn how to win, develop winning habits, whatever cliche you want to use. And you do get to 74 and 88, but maybe, you're at 500 at the All-Star break and you're building a little bit of momentum that way and building a little bit of excitement. And then the next year you take the big jump. Well, we haven't seen the bridge year yet. We keep thinking every year is going to be the bridge year and it's not. They need to go get the starting pitcher to make this next year even possible to have it be a bridge
2025
year.
To me is the closest you can say maybe they can make a wild card. But the thing is you're in the worst division that doesn't look like it's getting any better. The White Sox are a tire fire. Cleveland, same situation. Detroit, and then the Twins are just somebody has to win the division, and it ended up being the Twins this year. That's why if they don't go out and spend money, and I've already told you guys, and I am not going to be fooled. I am not, zero chance of me. I will be optimistic because it's the Royals. Start of the season, new beginnings, everybody loves opening day. But until they actually are good in April, I'm not going to get all, oh man, this team has if they don't invest in a starting pitcher and say if their number one move this offseason is the second coming of Jordan Lyles, then you will see me on this microphone say, why should I care about the Royals?
I do feel and I'm looking at them right now, for what it's worth, I am in the camp that there should be free agent wise or a Melendez trade wise. I feel like you need one starting pitcher and one reliable bat. I don't need a star at center field or wherever, but I need someone who you can put in the lineup somewhere 1 through 7 every day and say, this guy is not going to embarrass us. Like, this guy is going to be a normal major league hitter. Yeah. I'm dying for that, and I've been dying for years. So those are the two things I would say that I'm on my shopping list. In terms of the free agent starting pitchers, like, you're not going to be in the Ohtani sweepstakes. Kershaw's either retiring or going back to LA.
Or Texas. Might go to Texas.
Well, that's possible too. Marcus Stroman is going to opt in Chicago, and he was awful down the stretch. But there's a number of guys here, honestly, that I feel like you don't probably have to break the bank for, and you're still going to get a decent pitcher. And these guys are all a little bit older, obviously, because baseball free agency. But Aaron Nola is going to be a little pricey. Sonny Gray will be 34, but Sonny Gray can still go.
He's coming off one of his best years. I think he's going to cash in.
Well, maybe that's it.
I don't care who it is.
Kyle Gibson's older, but he can pitch.
Just go and
Paxton have anything left?
James Paxton, I don't know.
That might just be Lyle's part too. But there's guys out there who you could go get and say, no, this guy he can pitch every 5 days. He can go 5 or 6 innings and throw quality starts most of the time. I don't know. You want to kick the tires on Giolito? You want to give it a try?
Noah Syndergaard will be out there.
No.
Man, even I
would.
would.
A good home.
No. But hey,
Alex Wood, can he still go?
We'll end this Royals conversation with this right here. It wasn't the worst season in Royals history like we always thought. It was one of the worst seasons in Royals history.
I think it's only fitting if we give our pal, the Bard, Christopher, on the YouTube comments, the final word here. As one of our most faithful Royals fans, he chimes in with this. The 23 season is done. Only 56 games have they won. Bobby Baseball's a star. Pitching's not by far. It just wasn't a whole lot of fun. And boy, if that doesn't sum it up.
Yeah. I do want to take my victory lap, though. Winning record in the month of September. Called that one.
Nicely done. Coming up, we got What Is Wrong With You?
is time for the first What is Wrong with You of the week and the month here on 580 Sports Talk. The human hamster wheel came away with the victory in the month of September. That's a great story.
Yeah, really good.
We had was it August? That was not a bad month, but a little bit of a down month for our championship contenders.
I get those sometimes.
September, strong, really strong Final Four, including the Never Forget parlay. That one will certainly live in infamy one way or the other. We've got two news stories today. Before we get to those, I want to remind you that What is Wrong with You is brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. You know the drill, guys. Top City Metal Supply cuts the metal you need to your specifications, and that saves you time, money, and material. So never settle when it comes to metal with Top City Metal Supply, located on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. My story today is going to take us down to the greater Orlando area, Brooksville, Florida specifically, where we meet a woman who's been arrested for pepper spraying two deputies at a Walmart. And this woman is, she's pretty familiar with law enforcement. We meet 48-year-old Keisha Henderson, who was booked into jail on several charges, including 2 counts of battery on a law enforcement officer and 2 counts of resisting an officer with violence, according to the Hernando County Sheriff's Office. Authorities said the incident happened this past Wednesday at a Walmart on Cortez Boulevard. Henderson and another suspect the day before, Tuesday, the other suspect identified as Kiera Tolliver, reportedly distracted an older woman while she was shopping, stole her wallet from her purse, and then used the credit cards to make more than $2,000 in fraudulent purchases.
Wow, they really hit her with the okie doke, huh?
Major scumbags. On Wednesday, a Hernando County deputy who was working inside the store to take a report for the theft was alerted that the suspects had returned to the store.
Don't go back to the literal scene of your literal crime.
Terrible timing with the police already there. When the deputy tried to confront the suspects, Henderson grabbed a can of pepper spray from her purse and sprayed toward the deputy before running off. The deputy was unable to pursue because he had been sprayed with pepper spray. Tolliver was then shortly thereafter detained by a Walmart asset protection agent. Another deputy, who is apparently in the store, spotted Henderson trying to leave, and she discharged pepper spray in that deputy's direction too. And while the deputy was hit on the arm, he was still able to draw his taser. And suddenly, Henderson stopped running away because she was tased and was taken into custody without further incident. According to the Hernando County Sheriff's Office, Henderson has a lengthy criminal history, including 39 felony convictions, mainly related to fraud. She's been to jail 5 different times and also had another active warrant out in St. Lucie County for criminal use of personal identification information. So this was not the first time she pulled the old steal the wallet okie doke, probably at a Walmart. She's being held on $82,000 bond for the Hernando County charges. She faces additional charges of fraudulent credit card use, 2 counts of petty theft, and carrying a concealed firearm. Oh, of course, throw in the little sprinkle on top. She had a gun on her in the process of committing these crimes. Tolliver is also facing charges, charged with 2 counts of petty theft and a fraudulent use of a card. She was held on bond of just $7,000.
That's so many arrests.
39!
That's so many convictions. I'm sorry. I said arrests. That's so many convictions.
Yeah, how many other ones were thrown out? 39 convictions, dude. 5 times in jail. And I get
Mookie Betts hit 39 home runs this year.
Damn, man. The Cowboys scored 38 points yesterday. More convictions than the Cowboys had points in a 35-point win. I get it. Times are tough, and there's things are cyclical, and it is hard to break that cycle. I get it, but there's another way, man. There's another way, Keisha, that you could make money other than stealing from old ladies at the Walmart.
Yeah, and then definitely don't compound your problems by returning to the scene of the crime. Literally. That's why they
and assaulting an officer.
So bad.
Assaulting 2. It's just bad all over the place. So yeah, our possibly 40th time convict, Keisha Henderson.
All right, for my story today, I don't know where we're going. We're going to Reddit, where a 30-year-old woman tells the story of her wedding, which was going wonderfully until the best man speeches.
Oh, no.
Because the best man decided to propose to his significant other
No.
during the wedding.
No.
When the best man decided to go against common sense and get down on one knee, all hell broke loose, and the event went completely off track. From that point on, the bride's post read, "No one paid attention to me or my husband, nor paid attention to the event times. People started eating early. The speeches were cut short after he proposed. On top of that, he got the DJ to play him and his girlfriend their song, which incited a whole bunch of couples to do the same. When me and my husband finally got a chance to dance, people were exhausted and didn't pay attention, instead going to eat. After several hours of this, I told my husband I didn't really want to be here anymore, and he agreed. Nobody even noticed we had left. Now we've been getting calls from all our relatives telling us we're immature and need to lighten up, and we should be happy our wedding made people this romantic."
Nah, dude, lose my number.
No.
You call and say that, lose my number.
Now, I had a small wedding party, but all of my everybody in my wedding party was married prior. So obviously this was not a concern that somebody was going to hijack my wedding by proposing at my wedding during the reception. Like, no, absolutely not. 100% no, jail. Like, I don't know what crime this is, but invent one, make one up. Disturbing the peace. I don't care. Jail for 1,000 years. I would never talk to that person again.
When we were planning our wedding, Abby and I talked a lot about how we wanted other people to enjoy the night, but also, certain things we were going to do certain ways because it was also the one time this is going to happen. Like, we wanted it to be special for that reason. And if we had gotten to a point where my best man, my best friend Evan, like his girlfriend was there, was his date. And if he, in the middle of his speech, breaks into, "I'm going to let you finish, but first, let me ask my girlfriend to marry me," I don't think I would have killed him, because I think Abby would have first.
Yes.
Like, he ain't making out of it. He ain't making it out of the venue at that point.
No, that would have been, yes. I think that there would have been some violence perpetrated. I might not have gotten a chance to be first.
Why? Like, why did you think this was a good idea? That's what I want to know. How does it go through your mind that, oh, on my best friend's big day, I'm going to make it about me?
You're literally doing what Kirk Van Houten did when Homer and Marge renewed their vows / actually got remarried, because Homer had gotten divorced at the courthouse earlier in the day, when Milhouse's dad decided he was going to propose to his ex-wife.
Yeah.
While his song "Can I Borrow a Feeling" played in the background. No, you don't want to follow Kirk Van Houten's lead and propose at somebody else's wedding. Absolutely not.
All right, so this is an additional note here in this story from the Metro tabloid in the UK. Elsewhere, one account on Reddit blamed trends on social media platforms like TikTok. Quote, "So many cute videos of the bride giving her bouquet to her bridesmaid, whose boyfriend immediately proposes to her while everyone is cheering and happy about it. And suddenly some people think proposal at someone else's wedding is the best thing ever."
Yeah, you know what that wedding had very clearly? Permission.
Yeah.
That was choreographed.
"Send the best man a bill for half the cost of his engagement party. Make sure not to tip the DJ if you haven't paid them yet. The married couple shouldn't have to fight to get their song in the rotation."
Oh, man, I would have been irate at the DJ. You're playing their song? It's my day.
We also found out
Maybe I'm a groomzilla. I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I think you're just a good husband. No, well, we were going back and forth during our planning. Like, do we want to have a day of planner? We don't want to pay for a whole wedding planner. We weren't about that. But someone to, like, coordinate things day of. And we did. And we paid her more. Like, she gave us the deal. We should have paid her more. She was incredible. But, like, if someone had gone and said, "Hey, I want to do this," and totally hijack the thing, Heather would have come in and said, "No, not going to happen." Somebody should have helped out the bride and groom here. And like, no. This is their day. You save this for another day. Throw your own party and propose then. These people suck. This is going to win today. This is somehow going to beat the woman who is maybe going to be convicted of a felony for the 40th time. It just makes me so mad. And maybe it's the fact that you and I both went through this so recently.
Yes.
Like, we are both within the first year and a half of being married. Maybe it's still just too fresh, but this makes me so mad. So damn mad. And I can't handle it.
No, like absolutely not. Like it's one thing, like again, if it's something that's choreographed and you're doing it for the gram or for the TikTok or whatever it is, that, oh yeah, this would be really cute if this bridesmaid who we both know is going to get proposed to by her boyfriend who we both know, and we can make it a special day of celebration and we all agree that that's fine. Like that's one thing. If that's how you want to do your wedding, that's how you want to do your wedding. But that's not what happened here. This guy hijacked, like your best man speech. Like I still remember my best man speech for the 2 best man speeches I've given. And I still remember my brother's best man speech for me. Like those are special moments. And to hijack that with, I'm going to make this about me and I'm going to make this day about me. Brother, it's not about you. It's not. Yeah, I saw this and I was just irate and I knew it was going to win today.
Awful. I hate these people so much.
Absolutely irate.
Ugh, the worst. That is our winner for today in What Is Wrong With You. Brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. Metal cut to order when you need it. Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard. Coming up on the other side of this break, we'll hear from Andy Reid's Monday press conference here on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you on 580 Sports Talk. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Victory Monday afternoon. Don't forget to go check out our YouTube feed. You can find us on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is where we are there. YouTube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. Easy enough. First result that pops up will be us. You can check out the video stream, the comment section, and all the good stuff over there. That, again, is YouTube 580 Sports Talk, our channel over there. Andy Reid spoke a little bit earlier today, recapping the Kansas City Chiefs win last night. So let's hear from Chiefs head coach, Big Red.
When it really came down to it, defense buckled up, offense put together a couple drives, especially the last one, using up 7 minutes. There were some good individual performances. Most of all, I thought it was a good team win. I thought special teams did a nice job securing the football, getting the yards, the few yards that we needed there, and punted the ball well, so on. And kicked the ball well. So with that, time's yours.
Hey, Andy. Pat basically said after the game that those 2 interceptions, he was too greedy. Do you have to talk to him much about that, about not being too greedy? Do you have to talk to him at all about that? And Brad, I'll have a second question as well.
Yeah, you know what, Adam? He knows better than anybody when that happens. And he came up afterwards and just said, "Hey, listen, I got to check it down there. So, or run it." And so, he did that. Did that a little bit more in the second half.
Okay. And, I mean, is that a fine line with him? I mean, making those kinds of plays makes him the player he is. Is there sort of a fine line? You don't want to take that away from him?
Yeah, well, you could kind of see the evolution of it during the game. He had a nice one to Noah where he kind of lofted it up and over, and he tried the second one and was picked. And so, and then the next one was picked, but he was trying to put it in a hole. He's done that so many different times, but they were settling back, so better to just work the flat there or run.
Hey, Andy, thanks for the time. I was just curious about your 4-minute offense. It worked really well at Jacksonville, and then it worked exceptionally well yesterday. Is that something you guys have worked on, and why has it been so much more effective maybe in seasons past, early this season?
I think we do work on it quite a bit. You see it at training camp, and then we work on it every week on Friday. So, and we've done that in the past too. So that's not something that's new. But I think, the guys up front are blocking nice. Coach X got some good runs there that he's put together. And then Pacheco and really all three of them, Pacheco, 25-1, they're all running hard and good. They're seeing things. So it's been a positive thing, that combination. And you probably include the tight ends on that because they're in on a lot of those.
Hey, Coach, obviously you guys got off to a really hot start and then things shifted. I was wondering, in your look back at the film, was it something that the Jets adjusted or was it more internally on your end where maybe there are more things you can clean up self-scouting wise?
Yeah, you know what, Pete, we did. We got jumped out and we were moving, and then we got backed up there, and that's where the problem started. Then field position kind of changed. The turnovers took place, and we gave them an opportunity, and that's what they needed. I mean, we let, that old saying is you let them up when they're down. So we did that, and we knew going in that you couldn't turn the ball over. We knew that, and then that happened, and then we had to kind of regain ourselves, and that's a hard thing to do in the National Football League, is kind of regain it from that position. So when you're up, down, now you got to get back up again. In the second half, they came out, they scored with the first possession. And then I thought our defense just, put the hammer down there. And even with a couple of times not great field position. So, but they just that kind of recharged everything. And then Pacheco and some of his runs, and then Pat had a couple of nice throws in there, and the old line got rolling, and it got out of the little funk that we had going. And so, it finished up good. Hard place to play and hard way to win a game, but you've got to be able to do that. And we were able to do it. We just need to get rid of the other stuff in between, and we'll be better off.
Hey, Andy, on that last scramble from Pat, it looked like Travis got thrown to the ground. I just wondered if that impacted the play that you guys were trying to run there.
Yeah, that impacted it. That was it was going to be a screen to him. So the defensive end though shook him out like a wet rag. So that didn't work, but it also gave Pat an opportunity to run.
Hey, Andy, thanks for the time. I know you guys through four games have faced a lot of zone coverage. from opposing defenses. I just wonder, or from your vantage point, how your receivers are sort of counteracting that, and what you guys have maybe tried to do more since you have faced zone coverage more than usual in these 4 games.
Yeah, well, this crew here was settling back, so it gave us the flat routes and gave out lots of room. And you could see how deep they were, and it also helped our run game. So that inevitably is what won the game for us on the offensive side. This week coming up now, you're going to see a lot of man coverage. And this group here ran man too, but I mean, not to the extent this next group will.
And Brett, I'll have a follow-up if I could. Coach, I believe, I think this is right, you can't challenge on a safety based upon when it's by penalty and everything, but I'm just curious how that process is working with all the guys. I know you've got someone in your ear kind of telling you what's going on. It looked pretty clear on the replay that Taylor was outside the end zone when he gets up around the face mask. Were you aware of that? Is it just one of those tough lucks, or are things moving too fast and calling the play and everything? Are you just kind of on to the next situation?
Yeah. So originally I got face mask, but holding also. So that, and he was holding in the end zone. So that it looked like he had his face mask partially in there too, but it, that's where, that's what happened. So they review all that stuff too. So.
Okay. And then Rashee Rice had another drop. Just where do you think he is as far as kind of his progression? Is it one of those, the game maybe still just a little bit too fast for him and slowing it all down and trying too hard, or what do you see there when you look at that?
Yeah, he's on that one. He just need to look it all the way in. I mean, he came back and had a real nice one there later in the game, which was big for us. So those will get further and further apart, I think, as we go. So the drops.
Hey, Coach, you've mentioned before that your advice to Patrick when things maybe aren't going well is just to flush it and to keep firing. That's a hard thing to do, though, I'm sure. What's it say about him as a competitor that last night things weren't going well, but he flushed it and found ways to make plays to win the game in the end?
Yeah, well, no one knows better than what the player does when they do something bad. I mean, it's if they're competitive, they feel more than anybody. So my point is, listen, you do what got you there, and that's attacking. And if you need to check it down as part of the attack, check it down. I mean, they're settling deep. Just check it down and keep firing, keep going. A lot of game left to play, and so he's positive that way. He knows all of that, and he'll normally say something to me before I say something to him. So, but I think you've got to keep firing.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned about the Jets playing a little bit deep, and that was opened up some holes to run, but it didn't seem like Patrick was necessarily taking advantage of that a little bit in the first half. Are there times, like Adam was kind of mentioning, that his mindset gets into that he wants to throw and maybe doesn't want to get out of the pocket as much? And is that something you just have to wait for him to do it on his own, or get to that mode, or is there any conversation you have about when him leaving and not leaving the pocket?
Well, we got spoiled early, so they weren't playing as deep, and so we had a couple yards in the first quarter there, Matt. I mean, and so you think it's still going to be there. All of a sudden, they drop back, and somebody's in that lane when you cut it loose that was open before. So, you just if you see it, then you got to check it down. Normally, he sees those things pretty well. He was just trying to shape it over the top like he did to Noah. But listen, yeah, I mean, does he have free access to run? Absolutely. He did that. He did it great in the game. And then he came back, and you saw him check it down the flats after that second one. I mean, he started utilizing the flats, and it opened up some things for us down into that third and fourth quarter.
So that's Andy Reid, Chiefs head coach, speaking earlier this afternoon at One Arrowhead Drive. Some good stuff there following the Chiefs' win over the New York Jets 23-20 last night. And we heard our pal Jesse Newell ask about the play that Mahomes ended up rushing for the first down to seal the game, that, hey, looks like Travis Kelce got thrown to the ground there. How did that change things? And Reid thought it was funny. And Andy Reid's not going to say anything overtly negative about the officiating. He's been doing this way too long, and that's just not the kind of guy he is. We haven't talked about it a lot, save for a few moments during the opening segment of the show today. Officials are going to get things wrong, or they're going to miss things, or they're going to over-legislate, or, I mean, it happens in every single game to some degree. Sometimes it makes a bigger impact than others, etc. But between the people who are complaining about why wasn't Donovan Smith called for holding, or the people who complain about this call or that call, or why didn't they call the Chiefs for this, or why did the Jets get called for this? Why you can't throw that flag on Sauce Gardner at that time of game? Why? He did it. He held, right?
Yeah, not like that was like the first one of those flags. They called a hold earlier on that drive. They called an illegal contact on the Jets earlier in the game. It's not as though the refs weren't looking for that all night and all of a sudden decide, oh yeah, we're going to invent one out of whole cloth here to alter the outcome of the game. Like, no.
It just bothers me. The constant complaining about referees is so pervasive, I think, for fans and for media members too. That's the thing that I think bothers me the most. I saw this from Rich Cimini, who has covered the Jets forever for ESPN, who was complaining today. He says, oh, why didn't they throw the flag quicker if this was such a penalty on Gardner? Watch the referee. He double clutches as he throws the flag. Dude, give me a break. This is like, that's insane that you are saying this, that you are trying to perpetuate that. Well, maybe there's something going on. Look, he doesn't throw the flag cleanly. He held. It's a flag. Get over it. You know what? The Jets shouldn't have even been tied in that game because they were gifted a safety. I know Andy Reid just mentioned there was also apparently holding in the end zone.
Well, they would have called holding in the end zone if there was holding in the end zone.
So the fact that you shouldn't have had those 2 points anyway, I don't know. Maybe don't fumble in a crucial situation in the fourth quarter. Maybe do any number of other things. Maybe tackle Patrick Mahomes once when he had 40 yards of space to run through.
Yeah, don't give up a 3rd and 22.
It just bothers me. Figure out a way to win.
Yeah,
don't make the officials decide the game for you if you think they're making such a big impact on the game.
This is what happens to every great team in every league, is that the assumption becomes that they are great because they get help from the officials. Like, I'm old enough to remember when the Seahawks were really, really good, and everybody on Twitter called them the Cheat Hawks because, oh, they're getting every call, or, oh, their defenders play dirty, or this, that, and the third. It's part of it. And it's very funny to think that this multi-billion-dollar corporation, the NFL, would decide, yes, we are going to rig our sport, and we're going to do it for the franchise in Kansas City, Missouri.
We've got 1 hour left of 580 Sports Talk. We'll lead it off with our headlines coming up following the news. Hey now, 1 hour to go on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you on this Victory Monday following a Kansas City Chiefs win. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Don't forget, you can share your thoughts on anything we're talking about on the show, either on the text line. The number is 785-272-9429. And as always, you can hop into the comment section on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube is where you can find our video live stream, comment section, and all of our video content here at the Sports Voice of Kansas. Here in this final hour of the show, we'll get some final thoughts on the Chiefs win over the Jets. Today's 580 Sports Talk headlines, plus we will get to some college football banter following a big weekend around college football. We got to some Big 12 specifically earlier. We'll hit on some of the other big headlines from around the college football world coming up in a little bit. Plus your texts, plus your comments on YouTube. And as you just heard moments before we came on, right before you heard the theme song, you can win $2,000 from 580 WIBW and ghost your bills. $2,000 a day with the 580 WIBW keyword and the Ghost Your Bills contest. Listen every hour right here on 580 WIBW between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. for the 580 WIBW keyword, and then enter it at 580WIBW.com with your chance to win $2,000 a day. The keyword, this is important. This is the key, if you will. Only valid for the hour in which it is announced. Did you hear our keyword for this hour, Dan?
Autumn.
AUTUMN. Autumn.
So you go and enter that at 580WIBW.com. Not in the comments to the YouTube stream, not to our text line number, which we have seen people do both of those things today.
I appreciate the vigor, but not the right way to get it done.
Appreciate it very much. Appreciate your enthusiasm. But you got to go enter it at 580WIBW.com.
And again, only this hour. So the word autumn is only working in this 1 hour. And also you must be 18 years or older to play. Very important. Do not, if you're like home from school and you're only 16 or something, you are not allowed to play.
An honest mistake. We're not upset at anyone who may have made that mistake, but yeah, we want the winner to be one of our listeners. So
yes,
we want to hook you guys up. So 580WIBW.com.
All right, let's get to today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. And oh boy, there are a lot of NFL injuries from yesterday. Let's get into some of the big ones. The most severe and devastating for any team in the league. Tre'Davious White, the stud cornerback for the Buffalo Bills, done for the year, tore his Achilles yesterday. He knew it immediately. You could see him crying as they helped him out of the cart. I mean, it just sucks. I hate that for him. Awesome player, by all accounts, great teammate up in Buffalo. Key part of the success they have had. Tore his ACL 2 years back. Last year, it took him really until the very end of the year to get back to full strength on that ACL. Was playing really well through the first 3 weeks of this year, first 3.5 weeks of this year. And then in the second half yesterday, tore his Achilles. It just sucks to see that for such a good player. And that's a big deal for Buffalo because they've lost some of their depth in their secondary in recent years. Remember, Levi Wallace was their third cornerback for a few years. He's now in Pittsburgh. And Kaiir Elam, former first-round pick, has not quite lived up to the billing so far in Buffalo.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
The billing.
Nice.
B, wonder if they'd rather have Trent McDuffie instead.
I have a feeling they would. Much rather have him at this point. So that is obviously really, really unfortunate for the Buffalo Bills. Other injuries from yesterday. Justin Herbert broke a finger on his left hand, and I don't remember which reporter I saw this from. It might have been Rappaport, might have been Pelissero. Apparently his nail got all kinds of messed up on the finger he broke.
Yeah, it sounds like a really gross finger injury.
Ick. Yuck. But he is probably not going to miss any time. The Chargers have a bye this coming week, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're off in week 5. That's a really early bye for a team that wants to make the playoffs. They'll take on the Cowboys at home the week after that. There is not going to be a single Chargers fan at SoFi for that game. It is going to be 100% Cowboys fans at that game. But it is not expected that he is going to miss any time. If you got to watch that game yesterday, maybe it was Red Zone, Sunday Ticket, whatever, you saw he had tons of bandaging on his left hand and a splint. It's got to be hard to catch a snap or even have the snap handed to you with a splint on your middle finger. I imagine that is very difficult.
I do say that I respect Justin Herbert when he was asked about it today after practice, saying, "'Tis but a flesh wound."
Yeah, very funny.
And when somebody asking him, "Hey, is that a like a diagnosis, or are you quoting Monty Python?" His response was, "I'm quoting Monty Python." That was a movie quote. So yeah, shout out to Justin Herbert for being aware of the classics.
Yeah, I love that. That's absolutely awesome. Other injuries to get to, things that are certainly not awesome. T. Higgins injured his ribs in the loss for the Bengals yesterday. Doesn't sound like it's too severe. That sounds like it would really hurt, but not too severe is the expectation. Hopefully won't miss too much time for the Bengals. And an awful day for the Patriots. Only got worse today with news. This is from Adam Schefter of ESPN, and I'll get his full wording here. But both Matthew Judon, one of the most underrated players in the NFL. I'm willing to say that. I think Matthew Judon is a stud. Plus their rookie cornerback, Christian Gonzalez, who looks like he's going to be a pretty special player. Both suffered pretty severe injuries. According to Schefter, Patriots first-round pick Christian Gonzalez and pass rushing standout Matthew Judon are both out indefinitely while they seek second opinions on their injuries. That is really not good. Gonzalez injured his shoulder. Judon suffered a lower bicep tendon tear. That's nasty sounding.
Yeah, I'm going to be hard to return to play anytime soon with those injuries. And those are the two best defensive players for
easily
the New England Patriots.
We were having this discussion off the air earlier today. Mac Jones stinks. Like, he's just not good. And I think it's probably fair to chalk up his draft hype and draft position to look at who he was throwing to at Alabama.
Yes, correct.
And look at everyone else who was on. I mean, that 2020 Alabama team was special. That wasn't just your run-of-the-mill college football champion. That was a really freaking good team. And
Devontae Smith was so good in college, he won the Heisman Trophy. Almost impossible to do as a wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, he was a freak. And look, credit to Mac, because in college, he had one job. Two things he had to do. Find the open crossing route and do not throw an interception. And he did that. He threw that ball so dang good, not to the other team. So dang good at not throwing the ball to the other team in
That
college.
has not been a skill that has translated, however, to the NFL.
No,
because he throws it
man.
to the other team a lot.
And they are bad. It's not like he's getting unlucky and just, he's throwing in tight windows, they're getting batted away, and it's bad decision. No, man, these throws aren't even competitive.
Did he throw 3 yesterday, or was it just 2? Because I
think it was 3.
I think it might have been ended up being 3, but I saw 2 of the 3, and they were appalling. Like they were really bad interceptions.
Yeah, he's not it. I saw someone say they'd rather have Zach Wilson, and I thought, okay, pump the brakes. Oh no, it was only 2. It was only 2. Here was his line from yesterday: 12 of 21, 150 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, sacked once for a QBR of 15 and a passer rating of 40. And also 1 time replaced in the 3rd quarter for Bailey Zappi, who, by the way, was not much better.
No.
Not a whole lot better. Pass rating in the 60s for Bailey Zappi, though. Yeah, he stinks. And the Patriots losing their 2 best players, it's going to get ugly for the Patriots.
Also sounds like bad injury news for Teron Armstead, the left tackle for the Miami Dolphins. He has already been ruled out for next week against the Giants.
Not good.
With a knee injury. He missed the opener, came back, played the last 3 games, but he got hurt and came out in the 2nd quarter. And after he left the game, the Dolphins offense just wasn't functional. And some of that was they couldn't lean on the run like they wanted to. And some of that was they weren't playing the Broncos defense, which might literally be historically bad and certainly has been through 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But Teron Armstead is so important to what the Dolphins do because he's a stud at left tackle. And if he's out for an extended time, that's going to make the drop back passing game for Tua Tagovailoa a lot more difficult.
And we should also mention probably another quarterback. Kenny Pickett got banged up. I thought this was going to be a lot more severe than it looks like it's going to be because they ruled him out early after he had gotten injured in that game yesterday in their blowout loss on the road to Houston. Sounds like for now it's just a bone bruise, so he's going to miss a little bit of time, but not too much. That is really, really fortunate if you're Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. This would be a great time if you're Pittsburgh to fire Matt Canada.
Anytime is a good time. Like look at your watch. Look at it in 10 minutes. They're all good times to fire Matt Canada.
Even for teams that even if I don't care about them or I don't like them, I hate watching badly designed, badly coached, badly called football. And Matt Canada is just so bad at his job. And I think, no, you've got too much talent here to be this crappy. Figure something out. So yeah, great time to move on from Matt Canada. But that is the headline news, and a lot of it when it comes to NFL injuries in week 4.
Unfortunately, the Steelers do not play the Denver Broncos. I would have loved to have seen Matt Canada's offense against whatever that is that Vance Joseph is rolling out there on defense. I know they won, and their defense made a big play, 2 big plays, and when they had the scoop and score to tie the game, and they had an interception, although that was more about miscommunication, it seemed like, between Fields and Cole Kmet than about the defense making a play. But I mentioned it earlier, according to DVOA, it's the worst 4-game performance for a defense to start a season since they've been tracking DVOA, since they have data for it, like back to the 1980s. This is history making bad on defense. And it's because they have no good players on that defense. Like the pass rush is non-existent. I saw somebody who I know tweet that Drew Sanders looks like he was the 9th caller to a local sports talk show. And the prize was getting to play linebacker for the Broncos for a game. That was one of their 5 draft picks from this past year, by the way. So yeah, things are going great. Things are going great there in Denver. They're 1-3. They saved the season. Sean Payton looked thrilled, looked really proud of his guys, and looks like he really loves the guys in that room. Yeah. Actually, quite the opposite. He looks like he hates all of their guts. Hey, and would rather be doing anything else.
Now, let's be fair to Sean Payton. Not all of those guys played for the Saints between 2006 and 2021.
This is true. Let me make a correction. He hates 52 of those guys, and he likes Will Lutz.
And Traquan Smith, enough that he brought him in last week. I saw Broncos fans get so mad about that. Like, oh my God, enough with the former Saints. Enough.
There will never be enough with the former Saints as long as Sean Payton is your coach.
Nope.
Speaking of dysfunctional football teams, the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
The ongoing saga of Chase Claypool, who did not play against the Denver Broncos yesterday in the Bears' 31-28 loss. And then after the game, head coach Matt Eberflus said, yeah, we decided we were going to make him inactive, so we told him he could go home if he wanted to go home. And then a team spokesman told media that actually, no, he just was asked to stay home entirely. It was not he was given the choice. It was he was told, do not come to the stadium. We don't want you around. You're not going to play. Don't come. And it was not, as Matt Eberflus painted it, an option for an inactive player who they decided they were going to make inactive an hour before the game to either show up or not show up. Anyway, doesn't sound like he's going to be around much this week either, with Eberflus saying, this morning we informed him that he's not going to be here this week for the game as well, and we just feel that's best for the team at this time. The Bears play Thursday night against the Commanders. That is your signal to do anything else other than watch Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. Claypool not dealing with an injury. He was listed on the participation report for the Bears today as did not practice other.
This is the worst PR I've ever seen from a professional sports team ever, which is amazing because how many millions of dollars do you think they spend on their PR team? Again, Chase Claypool is bad. He's just not a very good player, and he doesn't give effort. Doesn't seem like teammates are huge fans of him either. But honestly, like, would you try 100% every single snap if you were a Chicago Bear right now? Your ownership doesn't care. Your front office doesn't care. Your coach is an idiot. Your offensive coordinator is an idiot. Your defensive coordinator is doing something inappropriate. We still don't know like exactly what he was doing inappropriate. Then he resigned and no one even wants to speak about it. I mean, it's just a complete disaster of an organization. And now it sounded today like the Bears are looking for a late round pick to move Claypool.
They traded a 2nd round pick for him.
Who's going to go add that?
Watch me turn this 2nd round pick into a conditional 7th in less than 10 games.
What is it? 18 catches for 191 yards since they traded for him at the deadline last year. Just terrible. I had people telling me all off season how much better the Bears wide receiver room was than the Packers. And I understand that I am speaking to a niche audience specifically here because we do not live in the upper Midwest. But come on. Awful room, awful team, awful coaching, awful everything in Chicago.
Justin Fields lauded Claypool as an offensive weapon and passionate player, but says the receiver, quote, has to work on his display of emotions.
That's a very diplomatic way to phrase that.
I don't think the Commanders are all that good. I give them credit. They put up a fight against Philadelphia. They must have like Philly's number. Like they beat them last year. They have played Philadelphia really well. And sometimes it's a divisional team that just does that against, like the Broncos played the Chiefs tight in recent years when they've been god awful. So sometimes it just happens in divisional games. I don't think that the Commanders are particularly good. You could not make the Bears money line high enough for me to consider betting on them to win.
Like, never.
No chance.
Never.
No chance. Commanders might be my what do you call it? Survivor pick.
It's just so freaking bad for that team. Continuing on with our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today, some somber news from the weekend. A two-time World Series champion pitcher died suddenly yesterday. Was it yesterday or Saturday?
It was Saturday.
It was Saturday when he passed away. Okay, my apologies. But Tim Wakefield, long time pitcher for the Boston Red Sox, passed away at the age of just 57 after a short battle with what we believe is cancer. The family has remained very quiet about this.
Brain cancer, brain tumor.
It's very tragic. Most innings pitched in Boston Red Sox history. Third most wins in Boston Red Sox history. World Series champion in 2004. World Series champion in 2007. I had not heard this story before. Scott Van Pelt shared it last night on SportsCenter on ESPN. Said that Tim Wakefield was the pitcher who gave up Aaron Boone's home run to walk off Game 7 of the 2003 ALCS.
Yes.
And Wakefield confided in some of his teammates and friends in Boston and said, I'm afraid that people in Boston will only remember me for this. And I'm not going to lie, I almost started to tear up when I heard that story last night because that's heartbreaking. Like, you give everything for these people, for your teammates, for the team, for these fans, and I mean, by all accounts, an incredible person. He was nominated for the Roberto Clemente Humanitarian Award 9 times, won it in 2010 right before he retired. And to feel like, that one moment would define everything people thought of you made me very sad. But he comes back. Huge part of them winning the World Series, breaking the 86-year curse the next year, wins another World Series 3 years later. Beloved Boston Red Sox pitcher, and tragically passed away. I am going to say this and nothing beyond it. The person who does not deserve to be named, who broke, quote unquote, the story 2 days prior to his passing, is a loser. He is a scumbag. He does not deserve to have his name shared. And he's going somewhere where people aren't very kind for eternity when it's all said and done for him. But Wakefield, on the other side, a great, great man. I saw a clip from 2001, and you know how hot professional wrestling was in 2001.
Yes.
Monday Night Raw was in Boston for 1 week, and Kurt Angle was in the ring. Kurt Angle in 2001 was maybe the hottest wrestler on earth. He and Stone Cold and The Rock. It was
my peak years of watching wrestling. So yes, I'm right there with you.
And Kurt Angle, Pittsburgh guy, Pittsburgh through and through. That is where Tim Wakefield began his career.
Yes.
And he was let go by the Pirates before he ended up knuckleball and all in Boston and became a folk hero. So he's sitting front row at Raw is War.
I think I was watching this.
And Kurt Angle, I'm sure he had word of this, but he's walking around, he's trashing Boston, normal heel stuff. And he gets over to the right side of the ring and he's like, Tim Wakefield, you're still active? And Wakefield stands up and he points to, I think his hat said Boston or Red Sox on it. He's taunting Angle back and he goes, only in Boston. And the fans all boo him. It's tremendous content. But I mean, and I know this is probably more than I've ever spoken about Tim Wakefield in my life, but very, very sad day for baseball, for that fan base. And Tim Wakefield, 57 years old.
Yeah. It's similar to the passing of Brooks Robinson last week.
Yeah.
It's all the more sad. And I mean, we're talking about, like, with Brooks Robinson, we're talking about one of the great, like, players in baseball history, a World Series MVP, a Hall of Famer, 16 Gold Gloves, all that. Like, there's a different space in baseball history that Brooks Robinson occupies than what Tim Wakefield occupies. But when you hear the stories about them as humans, as people, that's what makes the loss sting all the more, is knowing that it wasn't just a great baseball player. It was, by all accounts, a really great person. And nobody had anything crosswise to say about Tim Wakefield. One of my earliest baseball memories is him pitching in the 1992 National League Championship Series. This is not an exaggeration. I was 6 years old, but I was already pretty obsessed with baseball. And I remember like the slow motion shots of his knuckleball and just being so captivated by that. He was awesome in his rookie year, 1992, 8-1 with a 2.15 ERA in 13 starts, and then pitched really well in that legendary National League Championship Series in 1992 against the Braves. That's the one, of course, that ended on Francisco Cabrera's walk-off hit in Game 7, and that was the end of that iteration of the Pirates, and really the end of the Pirates being nationally relevant, other than a brief blip for like 30 years. Like the last time the Pirates were any kind of good was that year. But then he was not very good in 1993, and he didn't pitch in the major leagues in 1994. And I remember when he resurfaced with the Red Sox in 1995 and finished third in the Cy Young voting, going 16-8 that year. Just what a cool story that was. And the knuckleball is such a finicky pitch. Even if you control it, you can't really control it, right? It's one of those things, when it leaves your hand, it's going to do whatever it decides to do, whatever the wind decides to do. And there are days when you befuddle hitters, and there are days when you can't get anybody out with it. And looking at Wakefield's career, like his Baseball Reference page, you can see the peaks and the valleys. And the valleys are really low and the peaks are really high. And I think this goes for anybody in any profession, that if you are able to deal with, particularly when it's so public, highs that high and lows that low, and you maintain your humanity, and you're the same person that you were in the good times, that you were in the bad times, that you conducted yourself in the same way as a champion as you did in the aftermath of giving up one of the most painful home runs to give up in the history of Major League Baseball, that walk-off to Aaron Boone. That says a lot about the man. And it says a lot about the man that we're talking about him this much in wake of his passing. Very, very sad, and condolences to his family, his friends, his former teammates, and everyone who loved him.
And also, too, at least if you are my age, and probably yours as well, like, if you ever tried to throw a knuckleball, like just messing around with your friends, you thought of Tim Wakefield. Like, he was the knuckleballer of a generation.
There's just not that many guys who throw it anymore.
R.A. Dickey was the last one I can think of.
The last one who's been like a regular major leaguer to throw it. There have been a couple of guys who've gotten some call-ups here and there, and George Kirby threw one last night or yesterday in the Mariners season finale, threw one as a tribute, which I thought was really cool. It's something he works on the side, but doesn't really bring it into games. But he threw one in a game yesterday and said afterwards he did that as a tribute, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, with Tim Wakefield's death, it feels like it's a reminder that there's this thing that was unique to baseball that we kind of don't have. That there's not like a Tom Candiotti or a Steve Sparks or certainly not a Phil Niekro. There's not a lot of those guys running around who throw that pitch with regularity. Hope somebody brings it back. It will be nice to see it again someday.
Yeah. Brent Rooker, former Royal, put on Twitter in response to a video of Kirby throwing the knuckleball. He said, "When did he learn that?" Pretty funny. Kirby's a hell of a pitcher. Any other headlines for you?
No.
All right, let's get to a quick timeout here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll come on back. We'll talk a little bit about a busy college football weekend coming up on 580 WIBW. Do you know what begins on Wednesday? Brendan and Dan here with you, by the way, on 580 Sports Talk. Thanks for hanging out with us on this first October show of the year. What begins on Wednesday night?
Is it the season debut of Maction by chance?
It is not the season debut of Maction. That's a November staple. Thanks to one of the newest college football media contracts, though, we get midweek Conference USA action all month long. Wednesday and Thursday this week. Can I interest you in Jacksonville State at Middle Tennessee Wednesday at 7?
You most
6, excuse me.
You most certainly can. Yes.
7 o'clock Wednesday, CBS Sportsnet. New Mexico State hosts Florida International.
Yes, please. Hook it to my veins.
We'll get Sam Houston State on Thursday. This game is going to kick off while we are still on the air, I believe. I think this is a 5 o'clock Central kickoff. Sam Houston State visiting Liberty. That's 0-4 versus 4-0, by the way. And then Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech also on Thursday night. Hell yeah. Love this. Love this. The smaller conferences are smart by doing midweek football because you know what no one is going to do on a Saturday afternoon if you've got, you got K-State playing this afternoon. We got a big game from KU. There's a couple Washington versus Oregon is this week, and there's, Red River maybe. All these great games. You know what no one's going to do? Tune in to watch Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech. You know what people might do at 6 o'clock when they don't have anything else to do on a Thursday night? Maybe they're not interested in Bears Commanders this week. You might flip on Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech.
Yeah.
2 3-win teams. You very happily might do that. I am all about that. So very smart work by Conference USA. The weekend that was in college football, biggest storyline takeaway for you was blank.
That Georgia's not the best team in the country. I don't know who is, but I don't think it's them.
Okay.
I think that 5 games in, it starts to not be, they're just kind of messing around. They're like a big sleepy kitty, and it takes them an hour to wake up, and then they play their best football, and they squash the other team. I just think that this is not as good a team as we saw the last 2 years. And that's totally understandable, by the way. They lost their starting quarterback. They lost a bunch of beasts in the trenches. They've lost like 2 NFL teams worth of defenses the last 2 years. It's totally understandable that Georgia has taken a bit of a step back this year. But just assuming that they're going to romp and stomp their way to a three-peat, I think that has to stop. I do not believe that's the best team in the country right now. I think Michigan has a better claim to that at this point than Georgia does. And I know that Michigan didn't exactly inspire awe in their non-conference games, but what they did to Nebraska should have, because that was destruction of the highest order. J.J. McCarthy's got one of the best arms in college football. They've got a stud at running back in Blake Corum, and I think this might be the best defense that Michigan's had since Jim Harbaugh's been there.
Okay.
I right now, if I had an AP vote, and I don't, but if I did, Michigan would be at the top of my ballot. I think they're the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, I'd probably lean with Michigan as well. I think Michigan has a claim for it. I would not argue if you wanted to tell me that Texas has a claim for it as well, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
And I get it with Georgia. I do. I don't think I'd put them number 1 either. But
I just don't know, man. Like, Carson Beck's not bad. Like, I watch him. He can rip a sideline out. Like, he's a decent college quarterback. But, like, that's a downgrade from where they've been, right? Like,
I will continue to say this. And there are some really great players out there. And I still think the Heisman Trophy is going to go to Michael Penix Jr. of Washington, if you were going to give it out right now. The single best football player in college football, and I think I said this last year too, it is still Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers at Georgia is the single best football player in the country right now.
And he's something else.
He is unbelievable. 157 yards in that win over Auburn. Auburn's not good. Like, Auburn can't play offense, which is a problem in the SEC in 2023. But Georgia should have wiped the floor with them. I've got no problem if you want to put Michigan number 1 in the country, honestly. I would have no beef with that at all. Kind of a weird week around college football, I think. I think a few teams did make some statement wins. Honestly, I think Alabama winning was a statement at the very least that were not going away.
Yeah, they won 40-17, and Jaden Milroe threw the ball 12 times. And Mississippi State is like they're definitively like sorry, but that was the kind of football that Alabama, like that's the kind of football they were playing a decade ago.
I saw last week when Alabama beat Ole Miss, Ralph Russo of the Associated Press tweeted, "It's been a while since I've seen Alabama pull out the old, we're going to sit on your chest for 60 minutes playbook."
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of what they're doing again. They are smothering defensively, getting back to that.
Mm-hmm.
And look, if you can put up that many points without ever throwing the ball, you're doing something right. And you can win that. In college football, you can win that way.
Especially when your quarterback's as good a runner as Jaden Milroe appears to be. Is it Jaden or Jalen? Am I getting his name wrong?
It
is Jalen?
Well, shoot. Now I'm second guessing myself. I'm 99% sure it is Jalen Milroe.
It is Jalen. My apologies.
There's a lot of Jalen's and Jadens out there.
Yes, my apologies.
Yeah, so I think that was a statement win for Alabama. Similarly, also from the SEC West, LSU, I was all in on them as being a top 5 team preseason. I thought they deserved that, and I don't necessarily disagree in retrospect. They deserved it at the time. They should not have lost that game to Ole Miss.
No.
And I know Ole Miss can play. I know they can throw the ball all over the place. I know Kiffin can coach offense as well as anybody in the country. You should not be giving up 55 points to Ole Miss, even in Oxford, if you think you are one of the best teams in the country. You just cannot be doing it.
No. And it's very strange that they've got one of the best pass rushers in the country in Harold Perkins, and they seem determined to not use him as a pass rusher most downs.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It
really,
is completely bizarre.
Really strange. Colorado was fun again. I'll tell you what.
They're fun, yeah.
Yeah, we're 5 games in, and they're exactly what everybody thought they were going to be. I mean, they've got tremendous skill talent. They appear to have unearthed another like mutant at wide receiver in Omarion Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
No, Omarion Miller. Omarion Cooper plays defense. I could have that completely backwards. They've got 2 prominent Omarions, which is the most prominent Omarions we've had since the one who was in B2K.
Yeah, Omarion Miller is a wide receiver.
Yes, Omarion Miller, who just kind of appeared out of nowhere and had 175 receiving yards, basically in a half. Like, preposterous.
Yeah.
USC went up in that game 48-20. The outcome was really never in doubt, especially after Colorado ran the Philadelphia Eagles in that one Super Bowl against the Patriots. Not the one they won, but the one where Donovan McNabb threw up on the field. That one, when they ran that playbook with it down 2 scores without any timeouts with 6 minutes to go and inexplicably bled 4.5 minutes off the clock, giving themselves no real chance to come back and win that game. So the outcome wasn't in doubt. USC did their thing, and Caleb Williams very much did his thing. But Colorado getting a little better in the trenches, starting to develop some depth. Shedeur Sanders remains outstanding. They're going to get Travis Hunter and Shiloh Sanders back. They certainly could have used both of them on defense. They got Arizona State this week, and I think that's a really strong chance to get back in the winning column and continue down a road where they might end up. Again, this is a team that was expected to win 3.5. You know, the over-under was 3.5 wins at most sports books. They're still on a path to bowl eligibility, and I think they're going to get there. But every week they remain a show. I don't know if half the NBA was there, and they're certainly already starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel when it comes to celebrities with DaBaby and Antonio Brown running around the sideline.
Oh, AB was there?
Oh, yes, he was.
Dear.
Yeah, they gotta vet their sideline and locker room visitors a little better. If you've got DaBaby coming in to tell you about adversity, he knows a lot about self-created adversity. I know that right now. And also knows a lot about rapping over beats that sound like Scooby-Doo interludes. But yeah, maybe they got to do a little better quality control on that. But they remain week to week as good an entertainment value as you're going to find in college football. I'll be watching them against Arizona State.
Yeah, they should win that game. Arizona State's not very good. Any other games that you watched this weekend that really kind of caught your eye for one reason or another?
Thank you to the texter from the 316 who's going to lead me right into this. Hey, how about we get a little recognition of Air Force and how good they are? Hell yeah, brother. Yeah. Air Force rules.
Yeah, they're fun.
I love that team, man. They are running the triple to perfection, and they've got a functional passing game out of it this year. Their quarterback can sling it a little bit. But defensively, man, they are animals. They are all over the field. This, I believe, is Troy Calhoun's best Air Force team, and they're going to be I'm putting my name on it. They're going to be the group of 5 team in the New Year's 6.
Who else is in the running for that right now? Like, legitimately. Fresno State's ranked. They beat Nevada pretty easily this weekend.
Liberty, I think, according to Bill Connolly's numbers, has the best chance of going 12-0 of any of those teams.
And Conference USA is not a good league. Even though I was hyping them up earlier. They're 4-0. They get an 0-4 team coming up on Thursday night. Yeah, I mean, they've got as good a chance as anyone. Troy Calhoun is such a great coach. And no one talks about him largely because he's not the most charming guy.
No, he is not the type of personality that would do well in a job with a finer microscope.
Yeah.
But he's perfect at Air Force.
Do you know, or did you know, that in 2015, he was the runner-up to get the KU job?
I had heard that, yes.
That was reported by the Lawrence Journal-World at the time. That it was Beatty and Troy Calhoun. And it is worth wondering if he would have had the same kind of success at Kansas, given his attitude and his surliness with reporters and with all the other stuff that comes with college coaching. And, I mean, KU would have been better. David Beatty was awful. But kind of an interesting what if. Kind of like, what if Lou Perkins had just said, yes, Jim Harbaugh, you can coach one more game at Stanford and then come here.
Yeah, what if indeed?
Yeah.
Also, bears mentioning Notre Dame Duke because it was a very entertaining game, because it was an incredible moment in gambling history for yours truly when Audric Estime went to the house and then they converted the 2-point conversion that I was screaming at the television for them not to try. It was a 5.5-point spread. They were leading by 5. They went for 2. They got it. You might see that on Bad Beats tonight, honestly. It might be too mainstream for Bad Beats, but it was very much a bad beat if you had Duke plus 5.5. I hope Riley Leonard's okay and he get back on the field sooner rather than later. It was such a deflating way for that to end for Duke, not only blowing the game, but losing your quarterback to injury. But real entertaining football game. I mean, really good game. Notre Dame, I gotta throttle back a little bit for Notre Dame. If they don't have wide receivers that can get open against Duke, and Duke's good. Like, I'm not saying.
I was gonna say, did you change your stance on Duke at all?
I mean, Riley Leonard's got to do it all for him.
Yeah,
like a diminished Riley Leonard. I don't know what that looks like, but defensively they play aggressively. That was the thing that killed me. They were bringing the noise all night and forcing bad throws from Sam Hartman, and they were covering well down the field. And then on 4th and 16, they rushed 3, and they gave up a scramble for Hartman that picked up the first down and continued the drive. If they had brought pressure on 4th and 16, they win that game. Like, I firmly believe that. I don't understand why on some of the biggest downs, you don't just pin your ears back and bring pressure. Like, if that's what you do, and Kirk Herbstreit was saying all night, this is what Duke's defense does. Why not be who you are on the biggest play of the game, the play that can win the game? I'll never understand it.
Let's get to another break. When we come back, some final thoughts on the Chiefs win over the Jets coming up on 580 Sports Talk. Final thoughts on the Chiefs win over the Jets here on 580 Sports Talk. My final thought is, if you genuinely believe that Patrick Mahomes slid at the end of the game because the NFL rigged the contest, you need a lobotomy. Like, it's unthinkably stupid, that opinion. And I don't mean to insult your opinion, because we all have a right to them, but that opinion is very stupid. Like, don't give me that. Do not expect to have a legitimate conversation with me about sports if you're going to come at me with, well, yeah, but the league is rigged because I couldn't cover my bet. I made my 84-leg parlay on DraftKings last night, and I only hit 16 of the legs, but I would have had a 17th if Mahomes had scored an anytime touchdown. Go take a walk. Take a walk, get some air, throw out your TV, and maybe throw away your phone too. Like, give me a break.
Visit ksgamblinghelp.com or call 1-800-GAMBLER. Like, at that point, like, yeah, if you think that Mahomes had the point spread on his mind and you lost your little bet, like, seriously, there are phone numbers and websites that can help you.
Because that is a sign of that. Like, you need help. I lost. I even said on our post-game show last night on the YouTube, yes. I said, damn, I'm mad about it.
Yeah, that's a bad beat. But you know what? I'm not going to accuse the NFL, a multi-billion-dollar corporation, of rigging its games for the team in Kansas City, Missouri.
Like, why would Patrick Mahomes care about this?
No.
Do you think Patrick Mahomes needs to be on the take? Do you think that guy who's in every commercial with every major, like, consumer corporation in America,
I think
is on the take here?
I think he or Travis Kelce, either one, were on every single commercial break last night of that broadcast.
I mean, it's just so
they need that little $50K that the gamblers can break them off. This isn't 1919, the Black Sox scandal. Get out of here.
Leaving envelopes of cash in hotel rooms.
These guys aren't working in the box factory in the offseason and need the extra pay because old man Kaminsky is stingy with the cash. Get out of here. Get out of here.
It's so embarrassing.
Two things, and I think we'll explore these things more broadly as the week goes on. We get ready for the Chiefs to play Minnesota. Do the Chiefs have a tackle problem, like a capital P problem, with the play of Jawaan Taylor and Donovan Smith at this point? Now, Donovan Smith wasn't penalized, and despite all the Zapruters out there on that 3rd and 22 scramble, Donovan Smith didn't hold on that play. I'm sorry, he didn't. That's not a hold. That's exactly how you're taught. Get your hands inside and stay engaged.
You also have to give effort if you're the defensive player.
Yeah. So, by virtue of not being penalized, I think this was Donovan Smith's best game as a Chief. I thought he played pretty well. And Jawaan Taylor picked up, obviously, the penalty that led to the safety, but maybe he shouldn't have been a safety. Maybe if that doesn't get called a safety, maybe the lights are a little less bright on Taylor, though he did pick up another holding penalty later in the game. He's got to play better. I mean, certainly, I think there's a level of performance that is higher for him that he's capable of, but we haven't seen it yet. And are the Chiefs going to see it, or do they have a problem at right tackle? That, I think, is a question that we're going to have to explore and hopefully get a negative answer on for the Chiefs as we go forward. And the other question is, are the Chiefs better off starting to pick some wide receivers and just stay with them? And should Sky Moore be a part of that mix? Like,
he's been brutal, man.
I think we need to start having some real conversations about what Sky Moore brings to the offense, because he's not bringing anything to the offense. No. You know, he has been catchless in 8 of his 20 career games.
And 2 of 4 this year.
Yeah. Almost. Yeah. So half the games this year, almost half the games in his career, he's been out there just getting cardio in.
I mean, this team cannot afford that, especially because it appears that this team has a separation problem right now. And I don't want to write off everybody, but Rice is a rookie, and there will be growing pains with rookie receivers.
But see, like the role that Rashee Rice is in right now, that's what I thought Sky Moore's role would be.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've got Sky Moore doing things that maybe he's just not equipped to do.
And it does make me wonder if this is now 2 years in a row, and we're only a quarter of the way through this season.
Yeah, long way to go.
But if that's going to be 2 years in a row where Sky Moore is filling different roles and he can't do either of them, it does make you wonder, okay, well, then what role can he do?
Yeah, what is it you say you do here?
I'm excited for 2 or 3 weeks from now, though, as we get closer to the trade deadline, when we start coming up with wide receiver trades, though. Very excited.
Yeah. Who did Matt Verderame bring up earlier?
Mooney.
Darnell Mooney. Is he good? Like, I don't think he's good. I don't know.
I mean, if he's like your 3rd or 4th option, he'd probably be fine. I'm kind of over Bears fans telling me, oh, no, he's a dude. He's great. No, he's not.
Yeah, they're going to be a lot of, the Chiefs should go get a big target. Maybe they should see if Justin Ross can be the big target. Like, I don't know.
Give it what could hurt more than leaving Sky Moore out there?
I saw that guy breaking ankles every day at training camp and in the preseason. Let's see if he can.
Why not try?
Let's see if he can do it. You can get free 10 yards with him running stops and quick outs and quick ins. I don't know. Take the profit.
I would. I certainly would. Let's get to one final break. We'll come back, wrap up 580 Sports Talk with the final word right after this. Wrapping up this Victory Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk with the final word.
Two quick thoughts from me. Number one, go Hawks. That's obvious.
Hawks.
Seahawks and Giants tonight, Monday Night Football. No Saquon Barkley for the Giants. I like the Seahawks. The line's gone up. It's 2.5. I think the Seahawks win by a touchdown. I think they're going to win this game. And my final thought about the Chiefs on Sunday night is the Taylor Swift stuff may not be for you. It's not for me either. I'm a 37-year-old man with no real knowledge of Taylor Swift's catalog, but just consider that there are millions of other people in the world, some of whom think Taylor Swift is pretty great. And maybe, just maybe, they'll think football is pretty great too. And the NFL would be foolish, because they are a business, not to try and see if they can attract some of that audience and strike while the iron is hot. So just remember, all the Taylor Swift stuff, the adjacent stuff, it might be annoying to you, but not everything is for you.
Final word for me today is that, frankly, it just sucks that Jalon Daniels wasn't able to go on Saturday. And I don't know when he'll be able to go again. Hopefully it's this coming Saturday against UCF. If not, maybe the week after. Whenever he's able to get back out there, KU is obviously going to be better. It's no disrespect toward Jason Bean. He is a good backup option. But when you've got to get to your backup option, your ceiling drops significantly. KU still might not win against Texas, considering they gave up 661 yards defensively in that game. But it would have been nice to have that game be at least a little bit more competitive in the second half. That does it for 580 Sports Talk today. We'll be back tomorrow with a full show from 2 until 6. Michael Swain will join us for Jayhawk Weekly, and we'll talk some Kansas City Chiefs with our pal Jordan Foote from Sports Illustrated as well. That's coming up tomorrow from 2 until 6. So until then, for Jake LeBon, for Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Brzezinski. We appreciate you listening to 580 Sports Talk.